Blank check with Griffin and David. Blank check with Griffin and David. Don't know what to say or to expect. All you need to know is that the name of the show is Blank Check.
A generation podcasted in his backyard. It's a tagline for the movie. Fuck you. I don't care. The quotes are all bad.
Wait,
for
what's
them and
the
they're
word?
bad. A generation began in his backyard.
Oh, I mean, I guess so.
I suspected you also might have favored a line which jumped out at me as something from the trailer, which is "Go see what the center of the universe looks
That's
like."
what I
which
was
is
thinking of
arguably
doing.
the only halfway memorable line, only because it's in the trailer.
I would agree with that. It's not listed on the IMDb quotes page, and I didn't want to paraphrase it. That's
Is
the only reason I
anything
didn't pick it.
listed on the IMDb quotes page?
Yeah, ready? VW guy, like ants making thunder. That's
Classic,
the Paul
yeah.
Dano character.
Of course, yes.
Elliot finds his father pouring a jug into the freshly filled swimming pool. Elliot, Dad, that's bleach for the laundry. Jake, it kills the germs. What's the difference?
Also trailer.
That line really disturbed me.
There's a lot of
That
disturbing
really
stuff.
freaked me out.
Yeah.
Can people swim in a pool that has bleach in it? Like, wouldn't that like poison them?
Yes.
Okay. Because the movie's kind of like, what are you going to do? My old Jewish dad in upstate New York pouring bleach in the pool again. Like, you know, it just sort of treats it like,
But that's what all these quotes are like, Elliot, Mom, Dad, you're like superheroes. Sonia, no stupping in the bushes. Bushes.
So
Elliot, where are my arms? What the fuck is that? Who's curating
Do you know
this?
in Spain this was called Motel Woodstock? Isn't that weird?
that's a better name for it. Let's hope that after this, Go See What the Center of the Universe Looks Like finds its way onto the quotes page.
Yeah, like someone, come on, like, you know, get your act
please.
together, clean up the quotes page.
Yeah.
I mean, it's maybe the worst line in the movie, but it's also the only line that I remember because I wrote it down and I heard it 6 times in the trailer.
Right, it sort of sticks.
It's like the only line that has a handle on it.
Right.
You know, whether or not it's good, it's like a mug. It's like at least like, you know, something someone would have in the office drinking their Joe out of. Hello, everybody. This is Blank Check with Griffin and David. My name's Griffin
David Sims.
Newman. I'm Griffin Newman. This is a podcast about filmographies, directors who had massive success early on in their career were given a series of blank checks to make whatever crazy, far-out, psychedelic projects they want, baby.
Oh, boy.
And sometimes those checks clear, and sometimes they bounce right into the center of the universe.
Yeah, forget it. I was going to like say Far Out or something.
Aren't hippies funny?
Yeah.
This is a miniseries on the films of Ang Lee. It is called Podback Mountcast. And what's that in the distance? Boing, 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 boing.
Oh, this is a bouncer?
This is a bouncer, baby.
It only costs $30 million. I mean, it bounced. You are not wrong.
Yeah. And this is like, my favorite thing is when people like ask me what directors we're getting ready to cover. And they're like, so what else did he do besides like the big ones? And I run through stuff. There's always the like, oh shit, I forgot he directed that. And then
that's my bread and butter here.
Right. Well, no, I was going to say there's another one.
Alex pokes his head in.
Right. Insomnia is like an, oh shit, I forgot he directed that. I think this falls into, wait, that movie happened? Ang Lee made a Woodstock movie? Yeah, but it's like not about the concert. It's about like the planning of the real estate.
And it's not about that either. But that is my...
And it stars Demetri Martin.
Yeah,
What?
remember him?
That movie was made? Like, that's always the response I get is like, that happened?
That's the episode. That's why I claimed this 9 months ago.
You did. You really threw your
and
marker
then even
down.
like in one of the other episodes, you guys were, someone was like, oh yeah, you guys are taking Woods. What are you going to do about that episode? And you were like, oh, that's the one I haven't seen. That's where I want to come in. The one I haven't seen, the one I haven't seen since it came out, the one I forget about, the one that was a job for hire. I like to, you know, anything that's like, I'd like to be in there for the weirdest, most anomalous episode of like every third series.
Well, look, you're a fan favorite. You're a friend at this point, and you have said that you like to, when you finish recording an episode, get another episode on the books. You don't want to leave the studio until you've staked your claim to a future
You're like me
episode.
with my friends, where when we're saying goodbye to each other at the end of hanging out,
It's
I'm
like
like,
next
so
Tuesday,
we're
right?
going to hang out again, like
Tuesday.
2 weeks from now? Okay, great.
Like a dentist or a haircut. Like I want to know.
Right.
You operate on a dentist system.
So yeah, like I'll make my next appointment before I leave. I was remembering that when we did the last one, Last Jedi wasn't out yet. That was like the thing.
That's crazy.
That you had seen it and we hadn't.
It was right in that week.
I think it was the day before it came out.
Yeah.
Can I just weird axe grind corner over here? Our guest is Alex Ross Perry, by the way.
You gonna take me down? You're coming at me?
No. It's a very
You
different.
can't come at me. You got a herniated disc.
I do.
You can't come at me. I'd run away.
Breaking news: I'm broken.
Yeah.
Breaking news: I have been broken.
Coming to
by this
AMC,
industry.
Breaking Griff.
Yeah, Breaking Griff.
Mm-hmm.
Coming to AMC. Not
Thanks
doing.
for repeating my joke.
Thank you. I was
I know,
giving
I'm kidding.
an encore. I was echoing it.
Yeah, what's
I
up?
wasn't trying to steal it.
No, I know. What's up?
Axe to grind corner. I did like the run of podcasts like leading up to the second half of season 1 of Tick.
Oh, yeah. You mean the time you didn't plug this show on Comedy Bang Bang?
Maybe.
Uh-huh.
And there was one guy.
That was so upsetting for me that I literally had to like turn my phone off and go lie down for a while.
Ben is shaking his head.
Anyway, go on.
Have I explained what happened
No,
though?
you have. It's fine.
He went, you guys are here to plug the Tick, of course. And then I couldn't figure out how to fit in because he just like made it our plug.
Yeah.
Imagine if you were wearing the shirt that Ben's wearing while
I know,
he
it
said
would have
that.
really helped.
Yeah.
Ben's wearing a beautiful blank check t-shirt that hopefully will be available for sale at the time you listen to this episode.
If it isn't, oh no.
Yeah. If there isn't, file a lawsuit. When I did that run of podcasts, I did Hollywood Handbook. I did a couple others I'm forgetting. There was seemingly one guy who like on the subreddits, on multiple subreddits, on the message boards, because I, of course, wanted to see how I did on those shows because I was a big fan. I wanted to see how our episodes were being received. One guy who kept on attacking me in every one of these threads saying like he was unbearable. He kept on trying to do all the bits they do on the show. It's clear he's a listener. It was so frustrating. It was like if I was on the show. And the guy's complaint was that I knew all the bits too well.
Sure.
And was playing
You're
along
a super
with
fan.
them.
Right.
And he was like, it pissed me off like listening to myself on the show. And it's like, how much do you hate yourself?
Well, let's imagine that a lot. This could be a good jumping on point for a lot of this episode. I think a lot of new people might come.
This is a huge
when they hear you're finally doing the Taking Woodstock episode.
Yeah,
because
stockies. You're talking about stockies?
Yeah. And because like it's a tough one because like what's left to say about this movie? So people are going to be very like they're really going to be looking for that new insight on something that I feel like is pretty well covered culturally at this point.
Alex, you've been teaching at NYU. Is it like irritating how many students come in with papers on Taking Woodstock? Is it like the new Fight Club now where it's just like, we get it, you're basic. We all know that this is an important cultural landmark movie.
It's a very good question.
I have no idea what's going on.
I
have this question. Why isn't it called Taking Bethel? But I'll just ask that whenever this is done.
Why is it called Taking Woodstock?
I don't know.
Something I was trying to look up. I swear, and I found no proof of this, that when this movie was announced, it had a different title.
Well,
that's possible.
I remember when it was announced.
Could you find proof of it? But it was called like Finding, or it was like it was some other word other than taking.
Yeah.
And I for the life of me could not find this, and I think I might have imagined it.
You may have imagined it. I remember when it was announced that I thought it was called Talking Woodstock. Now,
that's what this is called.
Yeah. That's what this is called.
This is, by the way, the first episode of Talking Woodstock.
And that didn't sound good either, but
the
I
first
was
episode
like...
of Talkin' Taken.
It's sort it kind of just sounded like a Harry Nilsson song. We're talking Woodstock. Like, okay. And then I found out it was called Taking Woodstock.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, so did they like... Is it someone who like pulled some kind of a scheme about Wood? No.
Or is it like Muppets Take Manhattan, where it's like these people really took Woodstock
and none of
by
it,
storm?
And
none
then
of it makes any fucking
11 years
sense.
later, you watched it and found out it actually is just Talking Woodstock.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
they talk around it a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Alex, I have a big question for you. At the day we're recording this will be coming out, I guess, about a month, 6 weeks from now.
Pretty tight by most standards, I think.
Yeah. In the grand scheme of things, yes. Recent history?
It'll come out during the same season.
Correct. The same calendar year. The day we're recording this is the day of the wide release of a film that you wrote.
That's true. It's very weird.
Oh, they were recording it. Yes.
Yes, the day we're recording
My
this.
rave went up on the Atlantic this morning.
Hey.
Let's just take a minute and read it.
Okay.
No, let's not.
And by the
It's
way,
pretty well written.
By the way, Alex,
so.
very, very kind of you to refer David over to your Disney shills, who, of course, gave David the payola because Disney loves paying critics.
Yeah, yeah, they were
asked
so
if there
great.
was anybody I knew that wanted some of that payout who hadn't already gotten it.
Give me that sweet honey.
Well, because all these poems are greased by Disney, baby. That's the only reason
yeah.
Disney gets good reviews.
Not as many on this one. It seems like they may have cut down their critic bribing for this movie based on the embargo lifting last night.
I will say
They only had enough to bribe about apparently like 65% of critics.
I don't want to talk too much inside baseball, but it was a thing where I've been very excited for this movie that you worked on. Christopher Robin is the movie. And then Disney did the thing. We were like, where's the invite for this guy? And then, yeah, the embargo was Thursday night, which is usually a sign that a studio is not very confident about their movie.
Yeah, I was pretty confused by that. I mean, I didn't learn that until I asked when the reviews were coming out.
But the other weird thing is that Disney also more and more now has been doing that just because they don't want the movies getting out. Like they do that with like Avengers shit. They do that with their like crazy hyper tentpoles. Where I saw that and was just like, so are they just applying that to all films now?
I have no idea.
I don't know. All I'll say is that I saw it and I had a great time and I wrote a great review.
Well, enjoy cashing that check.
I'm glad it's out. By this time, it will have been out for a while.
Sure.
People maybe have seen it.
This is my big question for you. You are a fellow box office obsessive.
Love it.
It's a thing that you and I talk about a lot is how much we sort of love the math of box office, right?
I am too.
I'm saying fellow with us.
Okay.
He speaks for everybody.
I speak for everyone. We, the royal we, all around this table, especially Ben.
Ben looks nervous that he might get drawn into this somehow.
Are box office hounds. Are you right now getting like updates from Disney about how it's performing like hour by hour?
Definitely not.
You're not getting that.
You know, like you know all those jokes in like, you know, hackney things about how unimportant writers are in Hollywood.
You're about to lay a truth bomb.
I learned two things. One, they're not funny.
Sure.
And two, they're not jokes, they're just facts.
Is that why they're not funny?
Well, I learned that first.
Right. Okay,
it's the opposite of truth and comedy.
I'm sure if I were to be bugging people, I could be getting those updates, but I'd rather just learn it in real time like everyone else.
Well, I'll tell you that it got 1.5 million in Thursday night previews,
Hey,
which
that's not
is
bad.
similar to what Wrinkle in Time got. Wrinkle in Time opened to 33 million, but I'm pretty sure your movie did not cost what Wrinkle in Time cost.
I don't know.
Fair enough.
Probably not. It certainly doesn't seem like it. I feel like it's not a Thursday night kind of movie.
Right. That's why I think
also true.
I think that's a good number for that film.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. How many people went to see Christopher Robin Thursday night?
Well, my dad did.
Fair enough.
I would have been, were I not broken as a man.
Sure.
I certainly would be a 7 p.m. Thursday night Christopher Robin guy.
Yeah, my dad was one of them. David Lowery, who's now a fan of the show because of my recommendation.
Very exciting.
Saw it, last
maybe
night.
Future guest. Winky, winky, winky.
I know those are the two people I know who saw it last night. So the other 1.69999 million I can't speak to.
Sure. Fair enough.
I just remember, I have this very distinct memory of when Draft Day premiered. The premiere was on like a Monday, and then suddenly my schedule in LA was filled up with all these general meetings where they were like, "You're popping in this movie. We want to meet with you." People were just like handing me scripts and going like, "You're popping, baby. We'd love to get you involved with stuff." And then Friday,
were you only talking to Rob Corddry's character in Ballers?
Yeah,
is that everyone in LA?
You're popping.
You're joking, but it is everyone.
Right.
It is. Also, I went to the Pop Secret Factory, but they were just telling me I was popping and handing me all these scripts and everything. And then Friday, my last general meeting was at Lionsgate, who were releasing Draft Day, and that was the day the movie was coming out. And I went in for like a 10 o'clock appointment, and they were like, "Hey, we're so happy with your work in the film. We're really excited about it. Box office isn't looking great, but we think it's going to rally. We don't think it's a Friday morning movie." And it was just like so distinct that like I had walked in and they had started getting the first numbers.
Oh, wow. Right.
On Friday morning.
Because it was in LA, so they had like the New York
East Coast
11 a.m.
numbers.
empty theater numbers.
Right. And then I like walked out of there and was like, well, let me send like the follow-up emails to all the general meeting people. And suddenly none of them responded.
You were out.
I was out.
Did you know that Draft Day made less than $1 million outside of America?
Yeah, I do know that. Don't rub it in.
I had.
I mean, it's not really surprising.
But
it's a very American
do you know
movie.
that outside of America, the poster was just my face? Which I told them not
Huge
to do.
mistake.
You got a character poster that was actually the only they didn't make the other ones?
No,
Right.
it was just me, and they didn't even put my name on it. They just wrote "some Jew Draft Day."
What was the like character quote on your character poster? Because you know how character posters have that, including the Christopher Robin character posters.
It was, "Excuse me, sir."
Yeah, I wouldn't see that movie.
Weirdly, Garner is actually on the European posters with Costner.
Yeah, because I think they had to sell it as more of a romance and less of.
Oh, yeah, look at
I
that.
remember that photo shoot.
I
was there watching in the wings.
Como yogas.
I was watching the photo shoot, going like, and they don't want me in there, right? I'm just double checking they don't want me in the photo.
To your point, which I feel like is probably the end of this train of thought, I had intended to do that this week and stay in Los Angeles where I was for the premiere, and I was too sad, and I didn't feel like going at all, and I almost didn't, and I left immediately because I just didn't feel like being out there and doing what you just described.
Came right here into the studio.
I came home very, very late, and then woke up the next day, had a little bit of a day, watched Taking Woodstock, and now I'm here. I'm glad that this was planned so that I could, because previously I would have watched it like if the other time you suggested, I would have had to have watched it before I left. Yeah. And I would have forgotten everything about it by now. So I'm glad that this movie has been watched within the last 24 hours.
I just think that drop is so, is like the most depressing slap in the face thing when the industry is just like, oh, we literally don't care about you anymore. And it's such a dime turn. And especially when you barely have the currency to begin with.
Well, I'll let you know. This is what you're saying this is what I'll feel like.
This is not going to happen to you, Alex.
We'll see. I'll phone in like a little 5-minute addendum in the next 5 weeks.
How you're feeling on Monday.
Would you want to drop it in right here?
Well, maybe. We'll see.
Well, Ben reminded me to call in with this update that I promised when we recorded a month ago, and the truth is that nothing really has changed as we predicted. Movie has done fairly well as of this calling. Made about $90 million, but nothing has changed. I heard from some people from odd reaches of life who saw it, which was nice. But as we predicted in the previous bit of conversation you heard, nothing really changed for me yet. May still, but Griffin was right. It doesn't really work out that way. Thanks for reminding me to do this, Ben, and enjoy the rest of the episode.
All right. Wow. Well,
there was the pause for it. There was the pause. I hope it, it's just, it's a cool thing to be released.
Yeah. Were you happy with the phrases on the character posters?
I don't remember what they are.
I think, bother, probably.
You want me to look them up?
I'll go ahead and say probably.
I remember them not being very punny, which is good.
It's not a punny movie.
No, but like a lot of times with animal movies, anything that's animal adjacent, they'll just use the like Fast and the Furious.
I'm seeing no phrases.
Really?
It's all image,
I feel like because each of the four...
here's Piglet, but it's all like negative space, which I actually kind of like the negative space poster because I think it draws your eye, usually.
I feel like at least for those four, each one has a catchphrase that would be on there anyway. So they don't have to think of some punny line.
Right. They have long established sort of bits, these guys. Who are your guys?
Eeyore's my guy.
Eeyore's pretty great. Eeyore got a lot of love at the press screening, at least. There was a lot of happiness for
Was that the
Eeyore.
character you found easiest to write?
No, it was Pooh.
Really?
Yeah, by far.
Are you Pooh-like? Do you have that kind of...
I aspire to be.
You are pantsless right now.
Yeah. Just came in and got comfortable.
Did you? Because you nailed the Englishness. This is actual praise from me. It's the highest praise. Because I was thinking about it when I was watching this movie, and I was sort of like, there aren't any English people involved in the created, the writing and directing of this movie.
David, I have to remind you, we have retired this bit. You can't talk about this anymore.
For crying out loud.
You asked us to retire the bit, so I don't understand why you keep on trying to...
What's up there?
Look up there.
We retired the bit.
Right.
Correct.
But I am still allowed to talk about my life.
What bit?
I would even say that you seem like you're more comfortable doing it now, knowing that...
Right. But he's done this twice now.
But this would have been the ideal time to do that because you're immediately authenticating the Englishness of something.
David, you are allowed to talk about your life. You're just not allowed to start the bit. You can't initiate the bit because we've retired
Did you think a lot about the Englishness,
get your cards out.
They brought in like a kind of English expert at some point to sort of like check the P's and Q's of the geography and certain names.
No, I understand that. Yeah, of course. That's not what I mean. I guess I more mean the vibe of like post-war, stressed out English people.
No.
All right.
It was just in there. It just felt
did great.
organic.
You
I mean,
did
it's
great.
sort of, whatever. I don't want to talk about Christopher
Oh,
Robin.
fine.
I want to talk about
Sorry.
Taking Woodstock.
That's
I know you do.
that
And
is
I'm
fair.
not trying to interview
That
you.
is
I just
fair.
was so happy.
And I bet
my
people are-
dad grew up post-war England.
David!
It's a stressed out time. You should talk to me about
Yellow
it.
card!
No, excuse me. Talking about my father is not part of the bit.
You're allowed to talk about your father.
Yeah, who is English? No.
No
It's not part of the bit. The bit is me, not him. I got you.
You're really splitting the bit here.
All right.
Much like a man from Taiwan making a movie about Woodstock, I
Thank
just
you.
kind of went with my gut.
Right.
That's good.
Let's hope it pays off better than Taking Woodstock. But
Well, it paid off for Imelda Staunton.
how many awards? How many Oscars did she get for this?
She
just
she
mean
got
all-
15 mil plus
all the
40% of first dollar.
I just
on
mean
this
all the
one?
money your character has
Oh,
under the
Jesus
floorboards.
Christ. Okay, so
That
this
lady is loaded.
this is the one right after Less Caution.
Yeah.
So he's
2009, 2 years later.
right. He's kind of running on like a big enough blank check that he gets like a second.
Well, and also my guess is that Hollywood was kind of like, yeah, okay, you made the Asian movie. I mean, okay, but you want to make a Brokeback
Right, but now
Mountain
make
2 or
make
whatever?
Make a
Like-
proper one. Oh,
Right.
it's a gay character in
Right.
the forest.
I mean,
He's
like-
around lawns.
I mean, this is a focus movie.
Yes.
So I
had
don't know.
done to Brokeback.
Right. I'm taking my headphones
Who
off.
released? Did they not release Less Caution?
I don't know.
I can't remember.
While you're looking that up, let me posit my theory, dovetailing off of
They
this.
did. They distributed
Yeah,
it.
sure.
I felt like watching this that Brokeback Mountain must have been enough of a windfall that
It was.
essentially both Ang Lee and James Schamus got a blank check. Ang Lee went home and made Less Caution, a 2.5 hour long thriller or whatever.
Sex thriller. Sort of.
And then James Schamus used his portion of the check to make this movie.
I think that's a really good take.
I think that's it. Yes.
that
right. They
landed
both
for me
got
very
to do
clearly
that.
watching this last night.
Right.
I think that's a really good take.
This really does feel like Seamus's passion project.
Yeah, you kind of feel like he maybe wishes he directed this. And I've also read a lot of interviews with him where when they go over the career and they ask him, like, what happened there? What was up with that? And he says, like, I think we just realized people didn't want to see an Ang Lee comedy. Like, they got confused seeing Ang Lee's name on a comedy, which is a weird theory because
Which is
that's,
confusing because
This
there's
is a
no jokes in
comedy?
this movie.
right, that's the problem. It's that it's not a comedy.
Yeah, and like James, you don't write comedies that often either. Like,
Right, but he would present it as if it was like people saw the trailer and were like, God, this looks so funny. And then the name Seamus and Ang Lee came up at the end and they went, well, never mind then. Like the deterrent was who had made it rather than it not looking funny.
I understand. I think he's also he's kind of fascinated with like the 60s and counterculture,
Yeah.
right? And like
Yes.
Jews and hippies interacting. I don't know.
All that stuff. But, I guess it also makes sense. We were talking about before this that Ang Lee like lives close by to there.
Sure.
But Brokeback was a big windfall. Like, I think we don't think about how well that movie performed, especially with the sort of notion of the glass ceiling on gay films up until that point.
Yeah. It did great.
It did like great.
We talked about it on that
business,
episode.
and that was only a couple years after Crouching Tiger broke like every fucking record.
Right.
So he's in this state now where like even though Hulk kind of bounced, it is like I guess it can't predict which Ang Lee movies are going to do well, which is how he achieves weird blank check status. Is that it's like every once in a while one of this guy's movies breaks outside the box and super overperforms, and they aren't the ones that you can predict. So I guess you just got to give him the check.
I mean, that's like you mentioned Clint Eastwood earlier in terms of other
Right.
It's like the same thing. He can release 3 bad, unsuccessful movies in a row, and any other movie of his, people will always be like, "But that one,
Right.
We could have a Gran Torino on our hands or whatever.
American
Yeah.
Sniper
Yeah.
or
or it could be Jersey Boys."
right.
Right. Hey,
Or-
Jersey Boys made money.
Or it could be like
Maybe. I don't
Hereafter, which like doesn't
Oh, boy.
exist.
Yeah.
You know?
Much like this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's guys like that. It's just like a weird filmography. So
Yeah.
It's hard to predict
This is
when
his
they're going to
Hereafter.
connect. Yeah.
Right.
But this, I don't know. I remember. Well, this
feels like a movie that someone got fired off of, and he came in at the last minute, but it's not.
It's not,
Right.
which is so strange. It also feels like one of those things where like,
But it would never work that way because no one would get fired off this movie. Like adding Andy Shankman doesn't get fired off this movie, and the studio is like, why don't we call Ang Lee and see if he wants to make this? Like they wouldn't do it. I guess they.
This
call
feels like
Andy
one of those
Shankman.
things where it's just like, well, there's just kind of not a movie there. Like I can see how they'd be like, oh, this story's kind of interesting if someone gives you the 5-minute version of it of like, isn't it funny how this guy was instrumental in Taking Woodstock, when it's really in Planning Woodstock, right? But then when you actually stretch it out to this distance, like the guy wrote a book about his experience, his sort of memoir about the time.
Which a lot of people said was totally full of shit.
Yeah, and I also can't imagine it being a very engrossing book to read.
Because this book and movie is not about the planning of Woodstock.
No.
Woodstock is planned off screen and happens off screen.
It's sort of just a bunch of incidents that happen that aren't very...
It's sort of like Woodstock adjacent, kind of.
And the movie is kind
housing people who went to Woodstock, it could be called.
The movie is stunningly lacking both dramatic and comedic tension. Like it could pick a lane so easily and be like, the Woodstock's the backdrop for this guy's inner struggle and journey.
Sure.
This helping him realize who he is, which the movie kind of pointedly doesn't do.
Because his memoir is about how he had been in the Stonewall riots and it had like sort of awakened him to like being more openly gay. And none of, like a lot of this stuff is just sort of like whispered in the movie.
The movie deals with the sexuality very strangely. And the other thing is, at the beginning, they're setting up a very conventional, like, that scene with him and his sister, who, if this movie was made 2 years later, would have been Jenny Slate.
Mm-hmm. And also should have been, it felt like a deleted scene. Correct. I love watching movies where there's a deleted scene in the movie.
Yes. The best. They just forgot it.
Sure.
But that scene where she's setting up, like, oh, here's his apartment. It's being packed up in boxes. He wants to be a designer. Like, all this stuff, the struggle. And then he just sort of becomes like a lump for the rest of the movie until at the end he's like, fuck it, I'm leaving.
Right.
It doesn't really feel like there's any sort of like internal journey in between those two.
Right, because at the end of the movie, he's like, my parents are idiots and annoying. And we're like, yeah we know. We've been watching the movie.
And by the way, I feel like considering the movie already stars Demetri Martin, that could have been Jenny.
Yes.
She could have been in there anyway. Because obviously,
100%.
Ang Lee was hanging out and invite them up, and he was like, I'm coming back to America after Less Caution. I need to go to Rafifi and see who's hot because I'm casting this movie.
Demetri Martin, I guess he'd been in The Rocker.
Can we talk? This is the big thing I want to talk about because I was diehard Demetri Martin at the time. My fandom for Demetri
I was
Martin.
like not. Where were you on Alec?
I liked him.
Sure.
I saw him a lot at comedy shows earlier than this, like 2005, 6, 7. And I always was happy to see him, but I would never have been like, oh, he's playing somewhere for $25. I should go to that.
This was the tail end of my Demetri Martin is my guy.
You're speaking on behalf of America, the industry, and everyone in general.
Well, that's what was weird is that I did feel like I would go to those $25 shows. I spent my like 18th birthday like seeing Demetri Martin with my mom at like one of those shows, you know?
I will never forget being in college in another country, but still like watching The Daily Show and him doing one of his little, remember he would do those sort of segments.
Yeah, he was a
his first ever segment where he says, he's talking about like the youth and he says to someone like, start this sentence, and then just stares at them rather than finish it. And us just being like, that's the funniest thing we've, like, you know, him like cracking our brains open. So I was all in on him for like 1 year.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, he just does the same thing over and over again. And I got like so sick of him.
I'd say
I was out on him very fast.
I think I had 4 or 5 years.
He's cute though.
Where he was my guy. He very much spoke to like teenage Griffin. There was a level of like, the postmodern sort of like, I'm going to push the boundaries of what this thing is, the craft that went into it. And also just, I was super into that kind of earnestness and sincerity.
He was also one of those people who was deceptively old. Like he was already like 37.
That was the crazy thing I'd hear about him. Cause I'd have like older friends like in the comedy scene when I was like the 16-year-old, like going into the UCB. And then I knew the people who were like 30 and they'd be like, that guy's like older than me. And I like sat next to him at a bar, and he's really weird.
He's weird. And then I remember Maron despised him.
Correct.
Like as a concept more, not as a person.
It's one of the best Maron stories of all time.
The early WTFs where he's like, this fucking guy with his guitar. Like you could just tell it hates him.
Came in with a fucking skateboard. No, one of my favorite Maron being an asshole stories is that Demetri somehow got passed at the Comedy Cellar despite that not being the kind of place that would seem to be welcoming of him because he was so different. Like there was no one else trying to do anything.
Right. He would do jokes about like graphs.
But also,
he would just make a graph.
Right.
The joke was about the graph. The graph was the joke.
The graph was the joke delivery.
It wasn't
system.
like, you ever notice when you're looking at a graph that... Yeah. It was more like, I'm going to draw a graph.
And if he made a graph joke, it would be told using bells. It wouldn't be, he'd never use a graph for a graph. He'd use one medium to tell a different joke. But like, I just remember his Comedy Central Presents special was like, he was the guy who figured out the commercial act breaks so that he made each act of his special very distinct structurally. Sure. And I was just like, fuck, this is what I want to do. And I was like, this sort of overlapped with me being in denial about wanting to be funny, like wanting to be a comedian.
Imagine how many comedians like yourself were on their way after watching that to Staples to buy a pad of paper and a marker.
100% me. 100% me.
Suddenly Staples became the hot place for young comics because of Demetri Martin.
Office Max is like, who are all these losers?
When I started doing comedy, I was so prop heavy in that kind of way with like poster boards and like PowerPoint slides.
Quick
and that
question:
kind of
were
thing.
you the worst comedian of all time when you were doing that? Would you argue?
No, I was kind of pretty good at that. I would say, honestly, I became the worst comedian of all time after that.
Okay, fair.
Like, I was pretty good at that, and then I was like, fuck, I should try to do traditional stand-up, and then I was really bad for a while.
Oh, you're a good stand-up. Don't be
bad for
ridiculous.
a while.
Okay. Fine.
Past tense.
I didn't know you back then, probably.
Right.
Yeah.
No, but I was doing my like Demetri Martin ripoff stuff, and it was working really well for a bit. But I did feel that prejudice. Of,
It is a
like,
little limiting.
Yes, it felt a little limiting, and it was also like I got to show up every night with my like bucket full of glitter and everything. Like I just felt like a loser. The night where it hit the apex was my
Like
agent.
Andy Kindler seething at you.
Yeah, because I used to do this bit that was me doing like myself from the future had time traveled back to give me my stand-up routine.
For fuck's sake.
And the stand-up routine was all about how I shouldn't do comedy, and it was like delivered by the heroin addict, like junkie living in a space car version of myself, who was trying to like rewrite the past so he wouldn't end up so destitute. And I had like glitter and a time capsule and all this shit, and it like did well. And my agent was like sending it around to people. And he was like, great news, this like new Comedy Central stand-up show, they really responded well. They want you to do a showcase to maybe be on the show. And I was like, oh, shit. And I went to the showcase at a traditional stand-up club. And I was like, hey, I'm at a which I mostly wasn't doing. I was doing like comedy theaters and basement bars.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, I'm here for the showcase. And they went, you're here for the showcase? And I went, yeah. And they went, for the Def Jam showcase?
Oh, my God.
And it was a show called Russell Simmons Presents the Ruckus. That was him trying to do Def Jam at a different network without the Def Jam name. And I was the only white comedian.
Oh, no.
You're the Jim Carrey.
Everyone else was doing traditional stand-up, and I was first up with a bucket of glitter.
How did that go?
Horribly.
Because what I would have done is quit comedy and possibly America. Like I would have just fled the country.
It was so bad that it actually warped the rest of the show, because then everyone
had to come on and be like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah, because every comic was like, this is my chance to get on TV. I got a tight 5 I've been honing for years.
Right,
Let me just do
right.
the exact jokes I have planned. And then they got on stage and had to address glitter for the first 90 seconds because it was still on the mic. It was still on the stage.
First of all, I don't want to know what the glitter was for. I think it's better as a mystery.
100%.
That you just have a bucket and somehow it ends up everywhere.
Poignantly haven't told you why I use
Yeah,
it.
no, I think it's better left unsaid.
Yes.
But the point is, I
Demetri.
think, can you imagine what a sure thing it was for him being put in this movie?
Oh, 100%.
Like, can you imagine the enthusiasm where it's like, you're this alt comic.
Right.
Yeah.
You've kind of broken out above a lot of your peers.
Yes.
The guy who just won people Oscars for his last American movie.
Right.
You're the guy. You're in the movie now.
Well, and you talking about the $25 show thing, when I was going to him escalating to playing like rock clubs and things like that, right? It was like he feels like he's maybe in the stage that Steve Martin was in right before The Jerk, where he's just got such a loyal following for doing this weird postmodern thing. And the question is, like, how is he going to translate it? And I think he had done he'd started doing important things, which...
Well, important things like making this movie.
Important things is 09 this year. Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Because I know that was like... they
Had a great Mulaney wrote on that show, and like
There's
Dan
some really
Mintz,
good bits on that
like,
show.
yeah,
It's not
yeah.
consistent. But I think they signed him up for that show in 2006. Jon Stewart got
John
him.
Benjamin, I think, wrote on that show.
Yes. Leo Allen, all those guys. Jon Stewart, like, developed, like, the 3 or 4 Daily Show spinoffs he wants to do, set up in 2007, maybe. And then the show took a long time to actually get made because he booked this. And it put everything on hold.
Oh,
But
sure.
the thing that happened before that was he was going to play the second lead in Moneyball.
Right.
Huh.
In Soderbergh's
Steven
Moneyball.
Soderbergh's Moneyball, it was going to be Brad Pitt and Demetri Martin instead of
And like
Jonah Hill.
And then like David Justice was going to be the third lead, right? Like
Playing
he had
himself.
he had the pitch where like the baseball players could just play themselves. Yeah.
And he said there was a character that was like Clippy from MS Word who was going to explain all the stats on screen. He had like real life interviews. It sounded insane. And they pulled the plug on that movie a week before it started filming. And it felt like Demetri Martin was in that state, was like, okay, he's getting a TV show. Someone's going to figure out how to make him a movie star. He had sold like 3 scripts to DreamWorks that were constantly like in development. as of like 4 years ago, Michelle Hasnavicius was going to make one of them with Zach Galifianakis and Paul Rudd.
Oh, interesting.
He had a high
gonna
concept
make the worst
movie.
movie of all time.
It wasn't the one that actually got made.
Sure.
It was a different script that he had sold to DreamWorks, and Spielberg was like, "This is great. Pitch me more movies." And I think Spielberg bought like 3 of his pitches. So it was this notion of like, even if he wasn't for everyone, somehow he's got like a youth audience, like 17-year-old Griffin Newman in the palm of his hands.
Right. So they knew they could count on you coming to see any Woodstock movie he was in.
Right. Then Soderbergh was the guy who was like, I'm going to give him a supporting part in a movie.
Right.
That movie falls apart. But he had sort of gotten the sheen of like a serious director was going to give him a big role. I guess he can act.
People assume, right.
So then when he was announced as the lead for this, it was, wow, that's fucking strange. But also, I guess that means he's really got the goods.
That's the other Ang Lee thing. Like, when you hear that, you weren't like, that seems stupid in stunt casting. You're
Right.
just like, I guess.
Yeah,
Right.
I put my faith in he knows what he's doing or whatever.
I
yeah.
really wanted to find like the IMDb trivia list of other actors that were
people.
considered. I couldn't find anything.
Well, the problem with it is like just everyone's just decided not to care about this movie. There's just nothing.
There's nothing.
It's not like people are even mean. But if you just if you look at Ang Lee's Wikipedia page, it goes like, then he made Lust Caution paragraph, and then after Taking Woodstock, he made Life of Pi. Like, there's just no acknowledgement
They
of it.
sort of
really.
treat this movie like the 13th floor of the building, where it just goes from 12 to 14.
But I really wanted to know who else could have been in the mix. It's also weird to jumping around, but Adam Pally, who I know is in this movie, and he said something once about another performer, and he was like, this actor making this movie is like if Jim Carrey went from In Living Color to The Majestic. And I was like, that's a great way to look at the arc of some people's careers. And that's exactly what this is like. Right. It's like, this guy's kind of popping. What should we put him in? A super low-key drama instead of something that utilizes anything people like about him.
It's a very odd situation. Now, the two things I think of are, I think Seamus said that he was the one who kind of picked Demetri Martin because his daughters had showed him clips of his stand-up.
Uh-huh.
And I know I was in a stage where I was like the annoying, like, Garden State, like, listen to this will change your life person with like Demetri Martin bits at parties for like an insufferable number of years.
I really think about somehow how good it is that we weren't friends in certain years.
When you would put your headphones on someone at the party, would you describe the chart he was drawing
really
in
coming
the
at him
bit?
too hard?
No, I agree with you.
Yeah, exactly.
That kind
Thank
of
you.
person is a nightmare.
Excuse
you have to
me.
listen to this comedy bit at a party.
Excuse me. 3 comedy points to Alex. He made a joke that you guys didn't even hear because you were so busy dunking on me.
I'm sorry.
At the expense
What
of the
was his joke?
podcast.
I'm sorry.
I asked if when Griffin put his headphones on someone at a party and said, listen to this bit, he was like, now what he's drawing when he says this, you can't see it because I recorded this off of my TV, but it's really funny. He's doing this thing that's like a stick figure, but it doesn't really look like a person.
He's doing a joke about the shape of the state of Wyoming.
For the record, it was more me making people watch YouTube clips.
Sure. In the early days of doing that.
But it felt a little similar to me too. I also, if I met myself at that age now, I would never want to speak to him ever again.
Ben's nodding.
At that period of time, it felt like he was kind of like where Bo Burnham was a couple years ago.
Okay.
Where he had sort of like evangelical teenagers around him and the question of what he was going to translate it into and people sort of scoffing at the like, what's the thing? He's like, cute? Like, what's the deal here?
But I want to say something.
Yeah.
Demetri Martin is not Jewish,
That's shocking.
which
Correct.
is crazy.
He's
Greek. I
He's
believe.
Greek Orthodox,
Yes,
I believe.
that is
Yes.
correct. So to me, it's not offensive, but it's a little annoying to me. In my head, the narrative I've constructed, which is James Jameis's kids show him Demetri Martin. He's like, that'd
He's
be
got
good
a big
for the
nose.
Jewish guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's
just a little-
Jewish. He's Jewish, though.
I mean, sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Like,
mean, he's obviously not,
he
as you
reads
just told us.
Jewish. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do have that thing though, where this came up in the subreddit recently with the Ruth Bader Ginsburg movie, where it's like I like Felicity Jones a lot as an actress. She just 100% doesn't read as Jewish.
She is horseshit casting, and she might be good.
And she might be good in it, but Ruth Bader Ginsburg feels like such an important Jewish figure, and
I
I
know.
feel like her
It's a little
Jewishness, not religiously but culturally, is kind of like key to her existence.
That's weird. That's how I feel about Felicity Jones.
You feel like she is.
Her Jewishness is key to her
It's key to her
I
existence.
see that porcelain British skin, going back to David's question earlier about Christopher Robin, and I just think, boy, look at that. Look at that Jen Erso.
Jen Erso's Jewish, right?
I believe so,
Canonically?
yeah.
Yeah, Jen Erso
Because
is
Mads
Jewish.
Mikkelsen seems like he's Jewish, too.
Right, exactly.
And,
And,
her,
also,
her full name was Jen Ersowitz, right?
also, far as
He
Whitaker's
shortened it
character
when he
is
was
Hasidic, and
He shortened it when he was hiding
Yeah.
on that planet.
But I do like as a big time New York cultural Jew, I do have that Jew.
Big time New York cultural Jew.
Big time New York cultural Jew. I do have that.
I didn't realize we had Fran Lebowitz here.
Yeah, it's me and Fran.
Downtown Griffin Nooms.
Downtown Griffin Nooms, hanging out with Fran all the time. Franny Leaps. I do have that like ping when someone's on screen and they're not Jewish and they're playing someone who's like culturally Jewish like this.
I noted
two
it.
British actors and one Greek Orthodox guy, and they're all. At least the parents are.
I got no beef with Staunton and Goodman.
I think they're doing a pretty good impression of it, and they're doing the dialect. I mean, not the dialect. They're doing the fucking accent pretty well. Demetri Martin's is like selectively going heavy on the gas with like, come on, Mom, this is a concert here. We can't have people. And then sometimes it's just doing his normal voice.
Goodman is Jewish, and I love him. I mean, I grew up.
Oh, I didn't know he was actually Jewish.
Yeah, Imelda Staunton is Irish as fuck, which is kind of funny because she can kind of do whatever.
She does work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just happy to see Jewish characters in a movie. I don't care who's playing them. I just think it's cool for a movie to actually commit.
To be like, these are some Jews.
As opposed to like the they came together joke where it's like a vaguely Jewish leading man.
Yeah.
Like, I like that it's just like, these are Jews. There's a random moment of a hate crime that has nothing to do with anything and never comes back. It's really not made clear why these people are.
That like drives me crazy is something like, This Is Where I Leave You. Is that what it's called?
This Is Where I Leave
That's
You
the one that
is
drives
the
me
one that
insane.
had
I thought
no
you were
Jews.
about to say something drives you crazy and just get up and leave.
You know what?
Something drives me crazy. This is where I leave you. Hey, where'd Griffin go?
This is where I leave you.
So I'm gonna run down the cast of This Is Where I Leave You. We're almost done. I'm sorry.
I literally thought you were going to say the cast of Taking Woodstock, but
we could run down. It's quite
an
a
insane cast.
This might be the episode where we bring back the performance review.
I mean, okay, a lot of fails.
Yeah.
So the only Jew in the movie is Corey Stoll, who is not someone you would be like, that guy's
interesting.
definitely Jewish.
No, I wouldn't have called that. Yeah.
Catherine Hahn, number 2, is not Jewish, but is married to a Jew.
Yeah, and kind of plays
and much
Jewish.
like Demetri Martin is Jewish.
Right, exactly. She's just there.
But Catherine Hahn also is married into the family.
You're right.
It's not one of the siblings.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I'm just going through the cast.
Right.
Adam Driver, not Jewish, but like I'll buy it.
But
whatever.
they go like,
He's-
that's literally casting room. Like, what are you talking about? He's got a lot of face. He totally plays
exactly.
Jewish.
He's
He's
there's
got
a lot of
face.
features. Yeah.
Right. It was fuck you.
Then you got Tina Fey, Jason Bateman, Dax Shepard, Timothy Olyphant, which is offensive, Jane Fonda, Connie Britton, Rose Byrne. None of these people are Jewish.
Okay, now I have seen this movie. Not all those characters are supposed to play Jewish.
I understand.
The ones who are really supposed to be Jewish
Bateman,
are Fonda,
Fey.
Bateman, Fey,
Right.
Stahl, and
Casting
Driver.
Jane Fonda as a Jew is outrageous.
Right, and then casting Jason Bateman and Tina Fey as her children is absurd.
Tina Fey's
bizarre.
also Greek. So maybe
She's
there's
a
some
Greek
Greek Jew thing that Hollywood can't figure out the difference between.
Right.
It's like the weird, like 1940s, like he's ethnic. He plays ethnic.
Right, ethnic white guy. Okay, it
Right,
could
like-
be from Brooklyn, or
Well,
whatever.
they're not blonde, so I guess they could be Jewish.
Right.
Put him in that shit pile with the hot dog parts, you know?
Just, like give them one cultural signifier and suddenly they're Jewish.
Right.
Doesn't matter.
The cast of Taking Woodstock, on the other hand, so you got Demetri Martin, Imelda Staunton, coming off an Oscar nomination a couple years earlier.
She did that for 5 years, yeah. But she'd done a Potter in
You're right,
between.
it's 4. Yeah,
And
okay.
again, like giving a performance that
Yeah, it's
everyone
cool.
was just like, this is it.
This is it.
That you're gonna win something for this.
You're going.
And then
Right up to that stage
for
of
his
Kodak.
third lead, he picks venerable British theater actor Henry Goodman.
Yeah.
Liev Schreiber, who comes in late and hot.
Comes in hot.
He overshoots the runway, one might say. Jonathan Groff, well cast, probably the best casting in the movie. I mean, I don't love the performance.
Yeah. It's
But
good
he's pretty
for
good
the
at
real
just
guy.
standing
I
there.
have Liev appearing at 56 minutes.
Wow.
That sounds right.
In a
That sounds
2-hour
right.
movie. It's like 2 hours
actually,
on the
I
nugget.
watched this movie in 2 parts, like morning, evening, and him entering was when I turned it off.
You turned it into more of a mini series.
Yeah, exactly.
And he said, "This is where I leave you."
Eugene Levy.
Who I think is
Pretty
maybe the
good.
best performance in
Pretty
the
good.
movie. I was bummed when he sort of disappeared.
When's he bad?
I know, but I really
Bringing down the house trailer. Which
Fair
I've never seen the movie, but he's certainly bad in the
Hey,
You're
Alex,
right. No, you're right.
Alex,
He tanked it in the trailer.
Alex, you got me straight tripping, boo. Okay,
Thank you. I was waiting for. I'm glad someone brought it up.
you got me straight tripping, boo.
One of the most
boy.
horrible sentences to ever have been unleashed upon American culture.
You know,
and
you're
yet a
right.
sense
Ben,
that
can you
made-
cut out me saying when's he bad? He's bad all the time. What am I talking about?
No.
I can't tell what's worse. Do you want to, whatever the line was, do you want to go see what the center of the universe looks like, or you got me straight tripping boo?
You got me straight tripping, boo is the number one worst of all time. I believe he repeats it a second time at the end of the movie when he's spun around in a chair and revealed to have corn roast.
You got me straight tripping, boo is also the worst line to ever make a movie $100 million, which is what that line probably did. No, that's what I'm saying, but like that was $100 million.
I was going to say, that's the thing that pushes that movie to 40 opening weekend, is people could not get over, you got me straight tripping, boo.
Like Spielberg will say like Jaws, it's like 50% the score. You know, he'll like break it down. Like that movie's success is like 80% that stupid line.
Well, you remember Boo Fever. I mean, kids couldn't stop tripping Boo.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan, Adam Pally, Paul Dano, Kelly Garner, Mamie Gummer, Dan Fogler, Skylar Austin. It keeps going.
Fogler's that far down? Because I feel like Fogler is...
Well, but see that...
All right, Fogler... Well, we can talk about it.
Because on the poster, it's Demetri first and then the rest of the cast alphabetically, so Fogler is actually second.
It's also impossible to read any credits on the poster because it has the tie-dye, bendy...
Paul Dano I thought was uncredited, and then I realized he's just not in the main credit block, which feels very weird. His part is small, but he was already like a big deal at this point.
Yeah, I think maybe they just thought to have his appearance be a surprise or something.
It also feels like a scene that was added later.
This movie is so fucking weird.
Where they were
a whole
like,
scene
wait,
where
nothing happened in the movie.
It's like a whole scene where, it's like, oh, you don't have a scene where the main character trips in the Woodstock movie. Let's just get a green screen with the sky and then shoot like an 40-minute trip sequence in a van.
Right.
And let's just get the, Paul's blowing up from There Will Be Blood. Let's get him to like come over and
you know the old axiom in Hollywood. It's I think Louis B. Mayer was the one who said this. Don't have characters trip, have characters trip, boo. If you want to make $100 million,
I believe Alex is laughing at that.
No, that was good.
It was great.
I just wanted to know where it was going because I could. It was going to be good.
I mean, it's coming from the guy who loves Eugene Levy.
Because he's never been bad.
I mean, come on, David, you're over here straight tripping, boo.
In your definitive ranking of all the Jim's dad performances in every direct-to-video American Pie, you're like, when's he ever bad?
We've talked about this. He brings it. You're always, when you're watching one of those, you're like, when's he showing up? And then he's like, it turns out I'm the camp counselor, and you're like, here he is.
So it annoys
Jim's dad.
It annoys me tremendously that like at this point that's what he's doing.
Yes.
And then he's like, well, I'll do this kind of serious muted turn in the Ang Lee picture.
Sure. Right.
I'll have a pipe. It'll be a very
I'll have
serious
thick Coke bottle glasses.
It'll be a very serious supporting role, and I'll really, show him that I've still got it. And it's just so annoying because it's just in service of nothing.
It's annoing because he could be doing this all the time.
This
right?
is one
and
of those
instead he's like, I'm the executive director of The Naked Mile. Like, I'm on the board.
Yeah. Here, you are my library. You want to check out the Book of Love?
I forgot about that one.
You better be straight tripping, boo. I can't believe they didn't make like 16 direct-to-video Bringing Down the House sequels where he just has to like live with different
Bringing Down the
rappers.
Hotel. Yeah. Like, you could just do like a different place every time.
Like bringing down the
Leisure Center.
Yeah, the Woodstock Hotel.
Yeah,
he is kind of bringing that down.
Eugene Levy is one of those
guys.
Bringing
in the cash.
He's one of those guys where I don't fault him at all for cashing in that hard because it's like, Eugene Levy, you're like one of the great underappreciated.
Right,
like,
he only
geniuses.
cashes in 15 years after SCTV. Like he had exactly.
More than it's like he's like in his like late 50s, early 60s, and suddenly he becomes like a bankable guy where it's like they'll pay you $2 million to show up for 2 days.
Right, in the like Olsen Twins movie.
If you've had that much integrity for that long, why don't you just take that money and at least retire comfortably?
But you know what? After the Book of Love, he really throttled down. He just doesn't make movies anymore. He was in Medea's Witness Protection.
Right.
Then
above the title.
And then the next movie he made was Finding Dory, which I didn't even know he was in.
He's Dory's dad.
And then he was in the Goon sequel, but that's just because he's in Goon 1.
And now he's in the Schitt's Creek. That's his
right, which people say is
TV
good,
show.
actually.
Yeah.
I haven't watched that.
When you listed the cast, did you list Emile Hirsch? I feel like you...
I did list Emile Hirsch, yes.
It's a pretty insane cast of people who obviously just wanted to be in an Ang Lee movie after Brokeback Mountain, despite the fact that not a single character, including, I would argue, the lead character, has any kind of an arc.
No.
Right.
And every single character you just listed disappears from the movie with no resolution.
Yes,
Correct.
Every character is in it kind of for a chunk enough that you're like, oh, this is going to build to something, and then never appears again.
No. And
every single one.
And you kind of wish, at a certain point, you're like, I wish they gave them the pat, shitty screenwriting 101 arc
freeze
that I
frame
thought
on
we were
Emile
going to
Hirsch,
get.
and it's like, and then he opened a pancake house in Bethel.
Not even that. I just mean like Emile Hirsch is introduced as like, okay, the
as
totally
a fucked up
shell-shocked
non-veteran,
non-vet, right? Living in the van.
Humorously named Billy.
Right, and you're like, okay, what's the catharsis going to be? Is it that, you know, like Demetri's going to help him like regain his peace, which he kind of does.
I would argue it's the theater troupe that causes him to regain his...
Right, he's into the theater troupe.
But the character when he's introduced, you're like...
But he's just amused by them, I feel like.
Is he going to be the magical PTSD fairy who like somehow teaches Demetri the lessons? And then he
There's
kind of...
no lesson.
They're like, what about your mom?
The lesson of this movie is that Demetri's mom is like a skinflint and he should leave. Like, that's the only lesson.
Well, that's the thing we're talking around here is this is one of the least effective lead performances in a major film ever. And coming from like...
I feel bad. He seems like a nice man.
He does too. And it's one of those things where it's like, I'm watching and I'm like, I don't know if he's technically doing anything wrong, but it is just so thoroughly uncompelling. It's a
horrible performance. It's like a void.
It's a void, but I'm watching and I'm like trying to figure out what the issue is.
There's, it's a horribly written character. It's not, but still... I feel bad because he made this movie called Dean a couple years back.
Which she directed.
She wrote and directed and starred in.
Yeah.
And it has this sort of Garden Statey vibe because it's about like his mom dies and his dad has become this kind of mean jerk. He's played by Kevin Kline, so obviously he's a mean jerk. And like, I don't know, he goes on like an adventure to LA and meets women. And it's like a horrible movie that I like completely despise. But at the press screening, regular press screening, not a festival, he was there. And like before the movie started, was like, "Hi, I worked really hard on this movie, and I'm just so glad you guys are going to watch it." Like it talked, and I felt like so bad. He seemed very nice.
Yeah.
And then I watched it and like hated it. Anyway,
what did he do after this movie?
He was in Contagion.
Oh right, so Soderbergh got him.
Right, Soderbergh like gave him the like mea culpa role.
I mean, he did his TV show, right?
Right, he did 2 seasons of that.
He did. He's in Take Me Home Tonight with Dan Fogler,
which he's pretty funny in. Actually, that movie
was probably
sucks.
shot closer to this.
Yeah, that was an old movie.
That movie was shot in 2007. That was like Topher right off of Venom.
He's in A World.
Yes, which he's actually good in.
I honestly don't remember him in it.
He's the love interest in that.
I remember that movie being cute.
He's the love interest in that. He's actually charming in that.
But there's got to be like a couple year gap there, even between.
Yes. Oh, 100%.
Yeah, In a World is 2013.
And the 2011 release was shot like 4 years earlier.
I went to a taping of Important Things where he was saying like in between setups while he was just sort of like riffing and talking to the audience. He was like, this show takes so long because I just like am obsessed and I have to do everything. And he was like on stage preparing the props and everything. And I think there was a part of him where like doing that show kind of broke him because you know the crazy story about him that like he hit his like wall with stand up and is like, I want to do a show where like I made every single thing. So I have to teach myself how to play guitar, teach myself how to draw, and teach myself how to sew because I only want to be wearing clothing that I made myself. Which
sounds like a nightmare.
I think it's charming. But it's also it's the thing that like Mark Maron said, like
Ben and I are so firmly united against you.
I know.
You and I don't know, did I know you back then?
No, certainly not. No.
Good. Because you sounded really, really hard to hang out with.
But Mark Maron and other people who were like friends with him who would go on Mark Maron would be like, yeah, Demetri Martin's one of those guys where we go like, thank God he's not a serial killer because he's so obsessive and so thorough when he wants to do something that if what he wanted to do wasn't this innocuous, it would be a nightmare for us. The Maron joke, which I never got to, the best Maron slam of Demetri Martin all the time was Demetri gets past at the Comedy Cellar and he walks in carrying the skateboard he used to get there and a guitar and all the graphs. And Maron just like over his shoulder says, hey, Demetri, you ever try writing jokes?
God. It's just so funny to think of Maron thinking of this guy as like a sort of Brooklyn Carrot Top. You know what I mean? Like,
the enemy.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
The enemy.
Yeah.
This is Gallagher. Yeah. This is indie Gallagher. Right. But it is just weird. Like here's the crazy thing. So you were saying, oh, you cast in this movie, guarantee that 18-year-old Griffin goes to see it, right?
Not so fast.
I skipped this movie after being so excited for it because the reviews were so negative and so critical of him where I was like, this is going to bum me out to watch this and had avoided watching it until last night.
So no one had seen this?
No.
Yeah.
I saw it.
Ben sent a funny email when he watched it.
We have to give some props to that email.
Yeah. I sent an email that said, can I give Woodstock back?
And the answer is no, you've taken it.
No, I don't want it anymore.
Well, Ben,
boy.
and let's also say the other thing was at first you watched the wrong movie because you texted us and you said, I didn't realize that Ang Lee had directed a Limp Bizkit concert.
Yeah, I
Woodstock
got
99,
confused,
baby.
and I watched Woodstock 99.
I'm actually very upset that you mentioned that because we used all of our time prior to recording to just talk about nothing, but I had wanted to set up a bit that we would only acknowledge Woodstock 94.
Oh, man.
And we would
I'm
say
so
it's
sorry.
weird. And I forgot. Well, no, it's my fault. I've been thinking of this for weeks and I forgot to say,
You're like, this movie's so anachronistic. They set Woodstock
let's
30 years earlier than it actually
well, just to say that
happened.
there was that one and then one more.
Right.
It's crazy. They only did this one more time. I
Yeah.
thought that would have been really funny. But now I forgot it. And now you're out there with the Limp Bizkit.
Sorry.
It is kind of astonishing to look at the set lists for 94 and 99, like the drastic difference like in
Yes.
music between those two. Like it's not that long of a time, but like Sheryl Crow and like Metallica and Aerosmith, like and then like it's like fucking Limp Bizkit, and there's a whole subsection on the Wikipedia page titled "Violence."
I just remember Woodstock 99.
Insane Clown Posse,
Oh, yeah.
Korn, yeah,
I remember, Woodstock 99 was kind of twisted.
quite twisted.
I do remember the news covering Woodstock 99 as if it was 9/11. Like there were a lot of they'd play the clips and they'd cut back to the main anchor and he'd go, "Where did we lose our way?" And it would be like footage of two guys like brutally like decking each other in the mud, and it was just mud and blood while like Korn was on stage
Ben
with
is
their
nodding
weird
with
like
complete approval.
HR
Were you
Geiger
there, Ben?
mic stands.
I wasn't. I wanted to go.
Because it does, when you hear it described, it does sound like a scheme to exterminate the nation's youth. Because it's like you weren't allowed to bring in water,
Yeah.
and bottles of water cost $4.
Yeah.
There's that bit in this movie where Eugene Levy's like they're charging $1 to fill up a
$1
bottle.
for water.
That really got my goat. I really hated that scene.
Oh, it's terrible.
I was like, we're doing a bit about how is he going to talk about like shredded jeans next? Like, what is
They're
this?
selling them water in bottles.
Fees on tickets. It's but one thing that
They think they're the ticket master, huh?
This movie also tries to like explain that somehow Demetri Martin accidentally made Woodstock free when like Woodstock was only free because they were like, we can't like
Yeah, it's
have a
impossible.
ticket guy. Like it's too many people.
that was one of a couple things that like fundamentally I'd avoided this movie because
So you didn't see it either.
no, never until last night.
Wow.
Because
yeah, you called dibs on it.
You were like,
5
that's
months
why.
ago.
That's why.
Like
Because I was like,
February.
I was like, this is
You're
a
the
great
best.
opportunity to see this movie. Like I was like,
right,
that's
right.
a reason enough. Because otherwise,
Yeah.
it'll never
It's
happen.
a great point. There was no way I would ever seen this movie.
Did you
never.
buy it on Blu-ray?
I signed up for a 7-day free trial of Cinemax to watch this
Okay,
movie,
cool.
which I better cancel,
Yeah.
or else I'll pay $10 to watch this movie.
Yeah, I rented it in SD, which I don't regret.
Wow!
I rented in HD. Decent transfer.
It just wasn't worth the extra $1 because I knew it wouldn't be worth it. But I always avoided
Eric
it.
Gautier cinematography.
Yeah.
I'm sure it looks slightly better.
Sure.
I just avoided it because I hate hippies, I hate baby boomers, and I hate nostalgia.
I
for
know
this
how
era
much you hate hippies. We've
Yeah.
talked about hippies before.
Why do you hate hippies?
for obvious reasons. Because all that music sucks.
Alex?
This entire era is
What?
something I hate.
Alex
That-
is kind
all
of the
that
cart man of
music
this
sucks?
podcast.
Yeah.
I'm loving this.
Get out of here.
No, there's no metal. There's no good music there. That's
Are you
none of that.
serious?
Yeah, I am. I thought you'd be on board with this.
No, it's like the best time for music.
No,
Ben's
it's not.
like a
It's off
secret
by like
hippie.
10 years.
What?
If there was like a Woodstock 79, it would have been like good, and 89 would have been my Woodstock.
Can you guys have a blood
That's
mud fight,
interesting.
please?
yeah, all
Woodstock
right.
89 would have been nothing but stuff I like,
Right.
unless it was like synthy 80s bands. But I just like, I don't,
You're a metal guy.
yeah, and like, punk that would have been forming at this time. So I hate this era.
Yeah,
And I-
GNR.
But
Yeah.
see, that was a different time for music where like that wouldn't happen because that was like that wasn't mainstream music.
Right.
This was a time when
Sha Na Na were at
mainstream
Woodstock.
music was really good.
Get a job.
And it wasn't divided like it is now. Like everyone was going to see like a guy playing a bongo, a sitar,
And then like Peter, Paul, and Mary.
yeah,
right?
it was like such a mishmash of different kinds of musicians. It was such
It
a
is- Woodstock
cool,
is nuts.
amazing.
I'm
time.
honestly shocked that you're so, I thought you would be like a strict, like, you're talking about Black Flag before we started recording. I thought you'd be like, yeah, all that hippie shit sucks. It's not for me.
Guys,
I
you can
don't-
cut the tension in this room.
I don't care. I'm very surprised, honestly.
No, I've
is
always
incredible.
been like, sure, I've had my time where I'm like, fuck hippies, but
Me too. I've been living it since I was 12 years old. going on 22 years of feeling that.
But my dad and my mom were hippies. They went to Woodstock.
Sure.
And so I grew up with
That's so
that.
funny because you always describe your
life.
dad as this kind of straight-laced guy, but then you talk about like he does love the sci-fi. He's got that sort of edge to him, right?
Well, he's like he's just an angry dude.
Mm-hmm.
He's an angry happy.
So yeah, at some point
Is he like?
So when he saw Woodstock 99, he's like, that's what it should have been. Should have been a little bit more anger.
a little more fighting.
My parents are very adjacent to that too, and my dad's always worked in classic rock radio.
Oh,
and that's led to me just not
interesting.
liking classic rock.
Right. And especially when we were younger,
Yeah.
like that was what owned the classic
but
rock
I think
station.
my mom went to like Newport, but not Woodstock or something like that. But yeah, I've always hated everything about the nostalgia for this era. And I'm glad that after this movie, it like disappeared from the culture, which I'm very excited to try to figure out. I feel like between Forrest Gump and this, it was a viable thing you could sell.
You're right.
And then
You're right.
my theory last night was that the failure of Across the Universe in this movie ended all of that for mass cultural.
Like 60s nostalgia.
And then all of a sudden,
died.
people that age had to only see movies about people their age finding love again.
All right, I'm pulling a David Sims because
touch
I'm
my
realizing that like Eugene Levy, hippies suck. Okay, a lot of this
I
stuff.
see. That's the
I actually am realizing now kind of sucks. But I just have a soft spot for it.
Fair.
But do
That's
you
what I'm
do you think
framing it
about the
as.
fact that the last 4 acts at Woodstock were Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, the Paul Butterfield Blues Band, Sha Na Na, and then Hendrix?
That's
that's what he's talking about. Where it was just like Sha Na Na wants. All right, sure, go do an hour, Sha Na Na.
Well, and I guess that like even if it's not your kind of movie, the like correlation between the most popular bands also being the most respected bands, that they were kind of one and the same, regardless of how they've like aged, was a pretty unique phenomenon, and it was like tied into a cultural movement. It's like, I don't know if like there were the bands right now that were so tied into like hashtag their resistance, which also were going platinum.
Sure.
And they all did a festival together. It would feel like such an epic thing. So I think like in a weird way, also this movie, not like demystifies Woodstock, but this narrative that is kind
this
of
movie
bullshit.
does nothing.
Right. No, but this is kind of my argument is that, it's a narrative that has been sold, but this idea like, look how beautiful it was. Like all these people came from all over just to feel the music. And it was just like the joy and pleasure of it. And then it's like money guys coming in helicopters and you're like, right, it was still like some weird moneyed bullshit.
But I think this movie gets it wrong because Woodstock is weird because like it was a bunch of hippies who had enough business acumen to be like, if we threw a big concert, we'd make a ton of money.
Right.
And then they made no money.
Yes.
Because it was a disaster.
Yes.
The concert is a disaster. All you ever hear about is like, it was fucking raining. They were shocking each other. Everyone's like drowning in mud. Like it's terrible. And then it is a lifelong cultural event that children still know the name of.
Right.
All because of a really good movie, mostly.
Yes.
Which is how they
Which
like
is called
made all their
Taking
money.
Woodstock by Ang Lee, which we're talking about today.
And that's how we bring ourselves
Prior
to
to
the
this
story.
movie, it was really like not known that Woodstock was a thing
Yeah,
until
exactly.
It's sort of the same
Completely
thing with CBGB,
niche.
that movie.
Great-
like
two
people
great
had
films.
forgotten about it completely. That movie came out and we were like, yes, of course. This was such an important time.
And then
for
people
music.
later are like, oh, I can't believe. I always thought that people talked about that, but I guess it was just after that movie came out.
I just remember seeing CBGBs in theater and going, wow. I mean, I am seeing the film that is a turning point for a filmmaker. This director is going to end up in jail for involuntary manslaughter. And I was right. I believe he's still serving to this day.
He's not out.
No.
My point isn't just that, like, I'm not saying people can't or shouldn't think that this was like a cool thing or good music. My point is, nothing could ever be less for me than like romanticizing this era.
Right.
And I think it is like heinous the way that this has been sold to baby boomers, starting with Forrest Gump. It's just like, and I was both incredibly nervous and then kind of pleasantly surprised that this movie has no music in it.
It really,
which is incredible. This
is
movie,
incredible.
That was when I started feeling like this feels like a movie that they were about to make, and then they lost all the rights. And then like the only rights they could have was to say the word Woodstock, and they couldn't get any music. They couldn't get anybody's life rights. There's only like one real character in it.
It's also crazy because when the reviews were kind of, people were like, he avoids the concert. And it's like, there's already like a definitive documentary of the concert. We don't need to see that.
But this movie borrows that movie's most famous visual thing with the split screen.
Right, so he's replicating the style of the filmmaking. It's
not like they're ignoring the concert, like.
Not at all. But then what I was not prepared for is how perversely they almost make a bit out of avoiding the concert. It's not just like, okay, well, the whole movie takes place in the hotel, so of course he's not there.
No, my thing is that I already basically says, like, they don't just avoid the concert, they also avoid the planning of the concert, and instead they make a movie about neither of those things.
The concert is Wilson on Home Improvement. It's just behind that fence.
Right. That's funny.
This movie, I was going to say, is like Gareth Edwards' Godzilla if there wasn't the Godzilla fight at the end. Where the whole movie is him ramping up the tension of like, you're about to see the fight, you pull back, you're about to see the fight, you pull back, so you're ready to explode until when the final fight happens. And this movie, the movie just ends.
Here's the plot of the movie. Demetri Martin is a guy who lives in Bethel. His parents are shitheads.
He takes Woodstock. End of plot. Done.
No. He organizes a shitty music festival every year, so he has a music permit.
He's the head of the Board of Commerce, but he also has an apartment in New York that he's lost because he's been paying to keep his parents afloat. He wants to be an interior designer. He's gay. He's not gay, out of the closet, but he's not in the closet.
Sure. A hot hippie played by Jonathan Groff shows up and says, "Can we do Woodstock here?"
In a helicopter.
And he's like, "Fine." And they're like, "Here's a paper bag of money to book the hotel." And he's like, "Fine." Thus ends any more dramatic stakes for his character.
I have written down that character shows up 28 minutes in.
Right.
And you know that it's based on the real guy because he has the same vest and hair that you know that guy has.
Right.
And that's the end of that character's development. He just looks like that guy.
But you see him one more time and he seems really stressed out and you're like, oh, is something going to happen? Not
he plays the character like he knows that this is going to be Woodstock.
Yes.
Instead of some guy who's barely holding a concert together.
Right.
You also skipped over prior to the 28-minute mark that I noted when he shows up, that a performance art troupe lives in Demetri Martin's barn.
Correct.
Led by Dan Fogler.
And they have a bit where they all get naked except for Dan Fogler, who wears a blanket around his midsection.
Pointedly doesn't show dong.
And I was really mad about that.
I wanted to see that dick. I just
thought it was whatever.
Did he think he was too big to
that's
to
why
display
annoyed
wang?
me.
That's what annoyed me. Because Fogler was kind of, at that moment, Hollywood was like, well, this is definitely going to happen. Like, he was being put in everything.
It's true. I mean, this is the Fogler moment.
He had like 6 kind of like either like key supporting parts in like big comedy ensembles. Balls of Fury, he was the lead in. Ben? Ding dong.
Perfect.
Ding dong. Ben, you want to get the door?
Yeah, here you go.
Should I sit right here?
Well,
anywhere you like. I mean, I don't know who you are or what you're doing here.
We're in the middle of a recording. How could we? What's up?
You should sit in the one available seat if you want to sit.
Here is my resume. If you want to take a look at this, on my past experience, work experience, there you go. Slide.
Okay, I'm taking this, but weirdly, my thumb is over your name. What is it again?
I would say my greatest strength is that I am a grinder. I will do the job you hire me to do, even if it hurts me. And my greatest weakness, I work a little too hard, Sometimes I'm not there for my family in the way I should be, because I'm really married to my desk, and the tasks you put before me.
Are we talking to a giant sandwich?
Yes, of course. It is me, Marco J. Grilled Cheese. You all know me.
Well, this is embarrassing.
J.
And Ben.
Grilled cheese.
All right, Griffin, can you eat this guy? Get him out of here.
No, wait a second. Wait a second.
Ben, we should have just.
Wait a second.
Okay, fine.
I brought this guy in here. I found him through ZipRecruiter.
Oh, you found him through ZipRecruiter?
Yeah, I'm hungry. So I went to ZipRecruiter.
Uh-huh.
I put out a call for sandwiches.
So you're telling me that you use ZipRecruiter, the platform that finds the right job candidates for you.
Yeah.
The one that identifies what you're looking for,
right,
finds the people with the right experience, and invites them to apply to your job.
And I'll tell you,
and in this case, your job was being eaten by Griffin Newman?
I have been a sandwich for 16 years. That's the only thing I've ever done, the only thing I've ever wanted to do. See, I was standing on street corners begging for a sandwich, and people were giving me soups, salads.
And then you realize that 80% of employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site in just one day.
So I said, one day.
You said yesterday.
Right.
I'm hungry.
I could use one for about lunch. We usually record around noon. So I typed in sandwich. Well, we're supposed to record around noon. We usually start recording around 12:40 when I show up.
Yeah.
But then I typed in one sandwich at noon, please. And look who it is right here. Markup J grilled cheese.
I mean, it's almost like truly the right candidates are out there. It's just ZipRecruiter is how you find them.
It doesn't stop there. They even spotlight the best applications you receive so you never miss a great match, such as an actual sandwich. So the right candidates are out there. The most delicious candidates.
What do you think? Not bad, huh?
And
That's pretty good. Gives a little more salt.
ZipRecruiter is how you find them.
Hello, I'm Richard T. Salt. See, I put out a call for this as well.
So
here's my resume.
Can you just eat off mic at this point?
My greatest strength is probably I'm a good collaborator. I work well with others, and my greatest weakness is
Oh boy! All right, so right now, Blank Check listeners can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, for free. Yeah, turn him down. Turn him down. Just go to ZipRecruiter.
Sorry for eating on mic.
Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/blank. That's ZipRecruiter.com/blank. Griffin, get the food out of your mouth. ZipRecruiter.com/blank. They're the smartest way to hire.
I mean, look, now we don't even have to close the door because I swallowed our guest.
You mean you don't have to reopen the door?
Yeah. I'm still here. Not anymore.
You ate the salt?
Well, technically I ate the salt shaker. Now I'm eating the salt.
Can we, now that you've eaten, by the way, that was the stupidest thing we've ever done. I don't know what you had planned, but Ben saved our lives.
It is so kind of you to assume
that you had something planned.
Yes.
Great moment.
Jeez, what was that? It was
in
almost
the middle of a Dan Fogler.
That was almost like a
recap.
Dan Fogler character over there, right?
That's good.
Shoehorned in.
That's good because people were just starting to lean in, being like, "Here comes the Fogler files," and then they're like, "I gotta wait.
Let me get some Fogler in my cup.
I gotta wait for the rest of that Fogler bit."
Fogler's been in so many movies that sat on the shelf. It's crazy because he was also in Fanboys, right? Like,
Take Me Home Tonight.
That's an amazing distinction for an actor. It's like I've actually been in more movies that sat on the shelf than any other actor.
It makes it look like he had a more dispersed career as a result. Oh God!
Can I talk about Take Me Home Tonight for 1 minute because I find it really fascinating?
I also I'm a fan of that movie.
Yeah,
I've never seen it.
Okay, so Topher was in that period where everyone decided he was the next Tom Hanks and was doing rom-coms.
Post In Good Company.
Right, then he got Venom. They were like, oh shit, this guy's going to be a big fucking movie star.
Yeah.
So he went to Revolution, which was still like liquid at the time, and was like, every generation has their movie.
You mean Relativity?
Relativity, yeah, sorry. He was like, every generation has their movie. I want to make American Graffiti for the 80s. So that was his pitch. It was originally shot as Kids in America, and it sat on the shelf for 4 or 5 years, and every time they pushed it back a year, they changed the title to a different song from the 80s. And the fact that it's set in the 80s is completely irrelevant to the plot of the film.
Right.
Like he was like, I want to make American Graffiti if it wasn't about what was happening or about to change in the culture.
Right.
And it's just a comedy about a guy pretending that he's rich to get the hot girl.
And he works at Suncoast.
Yes. He's a Suncoast guy who pretends that he works at Morgan Stanley.
Company.
And then Demetri Martin's actually a Morgan Stanley guy.
I remember thinking Demetri Martin's good in that movie.
I think he's really good in that movie. I think he's actually really funny in that movie, playing an asshole.
Time.
Done.
Can you name the tagline of the film?
Take Me Home Tonight?
Best night
Jesus Christ.
ever.
The other
And then Chris Pratt and Anna Faris got married because they met on the set of that movie.
Right.
Yeah.
The other crazy thing with that
All
movie.
worked out.
Yes, for everyone. The other crazy thing with that movie was they edited the trailers together to make it look like Anna Faris was his best friend character.
Oh.
Who you're like, oh, she's the one that he's going to ultimately end up with, not the hot popular girl Teresa Palmer. And then the movie starts and they're siblings. And they had pointedly, deceptively cut the trailers to make it look like, I can't believe you're going to marry this jerk.
Right.
Like, it's like, you don't really love him.
Ben
that's
looks
weird.
annoyed that you've exceeded the minute.
We're not talking about the movie anymore.
The other
thing
is-
would Take Me Home Tonight.
The other thing is that he announced on Kiss FM, Topher Grace, that 1% of the film's box office would be donated to someone's who had just suffered a severe car injury. So it's like
I don't remember
$70,000.
I don't remember where I heard
it was
this.
a lot, I guess.
That's insane.
I don't remember where I heard this joke, but I remember when the movie came out, some website was like, Take Me Home Tonight fails to make any money at the box office, which whoever came up with that, I thought was incredibly funny. Great pun. But around this point in the Taking Woodstock, I wrote two things.
Yeah, well, let's run through your notes.
Well,
you probably kept better attention.
I just was writing down notes because I kept realizing like 15 minutes had passed and I hadn't made a single thought.
Yeah.
And I wrote down three things. Town is turning on him. Then I wrote, quote, what is an Ang Lee movie? Why would he make this? And then I wrote occasional Hulk-esque split screen, which I crossed out and wrote from the dock.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's interesting.
The first time it happened, I thought it was a Hulk.
I was like, oh, that's cool. He's in. Ang Lee's into that. And then I was like, oh no, right, this is from the Woodstock movie.
Right.
I will say it is weird, and that's one of those movies that just kind of happens, where it's not like I'm sitting there going like, God, what the fuck is going on here? You're just like, this is still not a movie.
But you're just like, I guess. Like when it does split screen, you're like, okay.
It's 2 hours of I guess.
I'm not mad.
Right. There's one moment I really like in the film, which is I think is the long motorcycle sequence of the cop trying to take him closer to the concert.
I liked that too. I liked it more when it was in Weekend.
It is his total ripoff of Weekend.
Right.
But I think it's pretty well done.
This should have had a scene though where Demetri Martin eats a sandwich and then like a voiceover talks about Marxism for 10 minutes. If you really wanted to take the Weekend thing all the way.
I felt like as much as I enjoyed that moment, that was like the first of several times that I was like, this motorcade is their only set piece in this movie.
Right. This is where all the money went.
The only thing they could do with their money was rent 200 antique cars and then just string them out on the road.
It is just, there's so many people in this movie, like so many
Who
like
pop
fucking bodies
in
who
and
are
out,
in
sure.
it. And you're
Catherine
just like,
Waterston's in it.
right, this must have just been like 2 months
Who
of
you've
all
worked
these
Right, there's one of many
just,
people in this movie who I'm like, oh, I know that person. I didn't know they were in this movie that I've never seen.
I genuinely had no idea she was in it. And she's in it for like 2 minutes.
But then when I saw her, I was like, oh, I guess I kind of remember seeing this on her IMDb at some point.
I mean, it's a real movie that came out.
Yeah, there are a lot of people who like are in this before like 4 or 5 years before they start to connect. And there are a lot of people like Emile Hirsch is doing this like essentially right after Speed Racer. So I think they thought like, oh man, this is going to be like getting Top Gun, Tom Cruise.
And Milk, and he had just
he
been
was
Oscar. But he'd been Into the Wild, so he'd been like critically
like 2
awarded.
massive years.
Yeah.
And then this is the beginning of him sort of going off the rails.
But again, you get the sense that it was like, oh, supporting Roland and Ang Lee movie, this could be big. This could be it.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, no, it's and he's playing a Vietnam vet, so maybe it's like a very tortured or interesting.
Do you remember the
performance.
scene about, according to my notes, 45 minutes in after the hippies show up when the mob tries to rub them down for money?
Yeah,
one of the guys
like
is the editor from House of Cards.
Then there's 2 minutes of Henry Goodman like wailing on them with a bat but not hitting them. Like he's just sort of swinging wildly.
Like, it just becomes like, Punch Drunk Love for a minute where he's just smashing stuff.
Right. And that's the completion of that earlier scene with his sister where she was like, what about that money the mob owes you?
This fucking
And I was like,
movie.
the mob owes him?
For decorating something?
Come on.
And he's like, it's not really the way the mob works when they're paying you for decorating their, it's just.
Right. And he says it like a joke and you're like, that's not I don't care. Like, that's not a thing.
But there is a scene in this movie where the mob, and that's like one of dozens of things that you're like, this probably happened.
Right.
It's probably in this guy's book.
Right.
Doesn't mean it's interesting.
And then they were just like, well, we got to get that part in there where like the mob shows up, and we got to get that part in there where there's like this guy who was in drag who was the security guard.
Right. It's that concept
These
of like,
are
what a
details.
crazy soup this is with like, you couldn't believe all the stuff that was happening.
If you were at
and in the backdrop of Woodstock, the famous concert with Sha Na Na playing.
If you were at a bar with this real guy.
I just think it would have been great if the only music they did was Sha Na Na.
I get it. You love Sha Na Na.
Get a job.
I refuse. I'm on workman's comp,
right.
my friend. Filed the paperwork yesterday. I'm
congrats.
broken. Thank you. If you were at a bar or like a cocktail party and this guy over drinks told you this story for like 15 minutes, you'd be like, that's crazy. That you were at the center of all this, all these characters. If you were telling it just in anecdotal form, if you read a review of the book or a synopsis of the book, you'd be like, oh shit, we should option this. I feel like this is one of those things where like someone optioned
Someone
it.
should just stop them and be like, yeah, okay, but Demetri Martin, you have to imagine him at the center of it. And they're like, oh, not
They'd be
interesting.
like, he's popping. This sounds great.
But
That's
see,
the
I'm not
problem.
even saying
Yeah.
that. I'm saying I can imagine someone seeing the announcement of this book being released, going like, that sounds like a fucking movie, buying the rights, then actually reading the book and going, oh, there's no story here.
Right.
And it feels like it never would have been made into a movie unless someone at Ang Lee's Power was like, I think I can do this. I'd like to do a comedy. Which feels like him kind of going, I'd like to do a lighter thing, maybe, and this somehow landing on his
some
sphere.
Seamus quote where he's like, we had done 4 really dark, sad movies in a row. We wanted to lighten it up. Around this time, I mean, you're really blowing through the plot, but you're right. There's nothing, but like...
There's nothing.
His family's business seems to be failing.
Right. They have this hotel. There's the scene at the bank where the bankers serve alternately, like, you guys are so annoying. You owe us so much money. And like, I'm sorry, I'm trying to help. Like... There's that.
They accuse him of anti-Semitism.
The hotel should close.
That's the other thing.
They play that card a lot. And this hotel should close. When the health inspector shows up and they're like, can you believe this health inspector? I'm like, you poured bleach in the pool. Like, you're a criminal.
Don't change the sheets.
You're a maniac.
I do like in the first scene when the guy's complaining. Like
the guy from Frasier, the hoity-toity Englishman.
Man.
Yes,
like,
yeah.
You know, I like any sign gag. In a thing.
No towels. She points to the $1.
There was no towel. Well, it points to assigned towels. I like any... At that point, 90 seconds in, I was like...
You're like, this is funny. Imelda's breaking balls.
Imelda's got a sign gag. This movie has a lot of promise.
You're thinking, like, there's going to be more signs.
And see,
like,
now...
there'll be
Demetri,
additional signs.
Which is a very
Demetri
Demetri
should have
Martin,
been doing the sign gag.
He should have been making a graph of the signs.
What if he was like, Ang, I love this script. I just have one thing. Can there be a sign gag where she points to something that comments on what's happening?
Here's the weird thing. On one hand... This opening sequence is maybe the most purely entertaining part of the movie, right?
Sure.
There's like a little comedic juice and a little like fucking spice in it.
I believe
because
you
at
mean
least
comedic
they're fighting.
Jewess.
Yeah, there's a tiny comedic Jewess in this scene.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Okay. Imelda's tiny.
Yes.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it kind of breaks the movie because after that point, you're like, I don't care if this fucking place stays open.
Right,
They're
it seems
assholes and the
like a
business
dump.
is bad.
Yeah,
like, it's
but
funny
I might
in like
be
a
all the
Faulty
way
Towers
in,
kind
right,
of way.
on a hotel movie.
Right.
But it doesn't even really, because like I said, it kind of breaks the movie that Groff just buys out the hotel.
Yes.
Because then there's no worry about like making the hotel nice.
And
they
then
make it
also
worse.
the final twist that she had the money anyway.
But she had the money
So
anyway.
it's like,
which
A,
is
they don't
revealed
deserve
kind
the
of
windfall.
subtly. Like,
Yeah.
he just sees her with a pile of money, but I'm thinking like, oh, is that just the money Groff gave them?
Right.
And it's like, no, she had
They
more
play
money.
it okay in terms of what it is. I mean, I thought she was
Goodman
dead.
talks
I thought she was dead. lying there.
She choked on money.
Well,
No, because she swam in the bleach pool.
We'll get to the iconic Imelda Staunton tripping on Pop Brownie scene when we get there.
That was half the trailer in my memory.
Right,
Yeah.
and the line that I remember. I
Right.
just feel like there was a point like where he kind of, is like, I'm going to bring this together, and then everything kind of seems to be working out. We haven't talked about why I brought in all this chocolate milk for everybody.
Oh, by the way.
We've been drinking chocolate milk the whole time.
We've been drinking chocolate milk the whole time.
Because essentially, like, it's revealed that the reason Woodstock happened is because of chocolate milk.
Yes.
Right.
Because
So I brought chocolate milk for everybody.
Demetri was originally going to offer like his parents' land, which is like a fucking swamp land.
And there is a good gag where a guy starts walking out into it and then falls into a puddle and disappears,
He does some really good comic flailing.
which I thought was actually very funny.
It is insane.
Yeah, that was kind of funny.
That this movie though has like maybe 4 jokes in total, and that's one of them.
And it's good. And then they're like, we can't have the concert here. This is a swamp. And then they think, what about
But they're
Jim's
drinking
dad?
chocolate milk
Yeah,
while
Jim's
they're
dad is
sick.
next door, and he's organizing the Naked Mile.
He's reading the Book of Love.
And everyone is like, this is good chocolate milk.
Yeah.
And they say, well, they make it next door with these great, like, upstate cows and this great upstate grass.
As long as you clean up and pay me $5,000, and then it's like, okay, here's the thing. Great. The whole movie has no conflict now. Then he pulls out, and then they just resolve it.
What was
And
interesting?
then he just upcharges them.
Right.
What's
He
interesting
realizes
about
he has
that is
over a
they say
barrel,
$5,000, and then Demetri Martin goes home with his bag of cash, and he shows his parents. He's like, "We're good."
Yeah.
And then Eugene Levy calls, and he's like, "I just saw a thing about this concert you're hosting."
Yeah.
And at that point, I was like, "Where?
Yeah.
Well, like, where is this guy getting his
In like
news?"
the Cold Spring Press.
Yeah, like-
I just checked Twitter.
Like he's just, but at that point I was like, oh, that's weird. They kind of skipped over this important detail about how the word is getting out that Woodstock
Yes.
has changed locations.
Just to be clear, he's asking them for $500,000 in like 75
Right.
grand. Then is like a $500,000.
Yeah.
yeah, it's like a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. Can we talk about, let's not bury the lead here. Alex Ross Disney brought the 3 of us Horizon Organic, chocolate low-fat milk, a gentleman's drink.
You're bearing the lead to whatever joke this is.
Comes in with his
Oh,
high
sure.
class, high thread count, Soylent chocolate milk.
No, I feel really bad about this.
Modernist bottle.
Because I roasted Alex for this, and then I realized like he did go to the effort of buying us nice
does 3
chocolate
chocolate
milk.
Yeah, no, that's good stuff. Like I said, I didn't bring Yoo-Hoo. The point is I couldn't find the silk chocolate milk that I like. and I've never had Soylent. This is undrinkable. I've consumed half of it,
Okay,
and I'm not going to finish it.
It's undrinkable, but that bottle with the sort of brown and then white, the two-tone looks very nice.
Can we spend more time describing what the
I want to talk about the Horizon box. I want to talk about the Horizon box because it has a fact about cows.
Did you say the plot or the box of milk?
No, the box of milk.
I don't know about your cow fact, but mine says, did you know cows can't walk downstairs because their knees don't bend that way? Cows don't walk downstairs anyway.
Yeah.
Why would a cow walk down the stairs?
What if it said,
you
did you
gotta
know?
walk up?
This is a cool fact, too. Horizon also makes mac and cheese.
Yeah, I know. But
I was wondering why all those boxes have mac and cheese on the back.
Yeah,
it's not like it's
chocolate mac and
recommending
cheese.
make it out of
I
chocolate
did.
milk.
I'll read this now. I did text my friend Adam Pally, who's in this movie. I said, any stories you can have.
Adam Pally, come on, blank check.
And I said, how much chocolate milk did you drink, and is it as good as they say it is in the movie? And he said, so much that I can't really think about chocolate milk without phlegming up in the back of my throat. Yes, it was delicious up there.
And this is practically 10 years ago.
So the chocolate milk, I guess, was legit.
Yeah.
But the point is, if not for the chocolate milk, Demetri Martin wouldn't have known to move Woodstock to Max Yeager's farm.
Right.
Yes.
And that's where Woodstock happened, as we all know from this movie.
That is, without question, the two most difficult parts of being an actor are eating stuff in multiple takes, just consuming any food or beverage for multiple takes, and pretending like the weather is different than what it actually is.
Oh, I never thought about that.
But those are always the two things that fucking get you.
But it looks disgusting to drink that much chocolate milk. But they're the little school lunch size containers. They're not the big boys that I brought in.
Still looks disgusting.
These are pretty. They're tall ones. These are
they're
tall
small
boys.
and they're square.
This is a weird Demetri performance thing that I want to discuss.
Okay. Is it the fact that he just stares blankly at everyone like he's a living doll in every single scene?
Essentially. This is the larger discussion I want to have around that, okay?
All right, sure. It's also something about his hair hanging over his head. Like he has he looks like a toy.
Correct.
Yeah.
He looks like a doll.
Yeah.
Bespoke collectible.
Right.
The Informant, the Soderbergh movie, everyone in the cast other than Matt Damon, Scott Bakula, and Melanie Linsky is a comedian.
Right. You got Joel McHale and
like Scott
Paul
adds
F.
it,
Tompkins,
Tom Papa, and like the Smothers Brothers are in it.
Sure.
It's like weirdly stacked with comedians from like different time periods. And I remember some interview where they said like, why did you put so
same
many...
year as this movie?
Yes. They said, why did you put so many comedians in the movie? And he said, with material like this, where you want these sort of dry characters
Heightened.
to have some life to them, I think if you have a comedian and you tell them to play it straight, it's still going to make it a little funnier than if you have a serious actor and tell them to make it a little funny so it isn't boring. And that was his whole notion. And all the comedians in that movie are playing it pretty straight, other than maybe McHale, who's playing more of the exasperated guy. But like Tommy Smothers plays like a judge. But it does give
the host of The Marriage Ref was in that one too.
Tom Papa, I already cited him.
I know. I just wanted to mention The Marriage Ref.
That's funny. 5 ref points. But it does give the movie a certain like particular energy. And you kind of feel like that was maybe the thinking here, where it's like, oh, well, this character isn't necessarily funny. If we cast a dramatic actor, it might be kind of dull. If we cast a comedian, he'll bring a certain life to it just by having that comedic energy. And it feels like Demetri Martin perversely was like, I want to show how much of a serious actor I am by not even attempting to be funny. Because there are moments in this film where he has what is clearly written to be vaguely a laugh line.
Sure.
And he completely plays against any comedic rhythm.
But he was such he's deadpan anyway. Like that
He is
was
deadpan
He
AF.
wasn't like a goofy comic.
Agreed, but when you watch his stand-up where he's playing things pretty straight and kind of blank like that, he still does have an understanding of like timing and inflection to be able to understand what will activate a laugh. Mm-hmm. Whereas in this movie, there are lines he has with his sister where it's like he's playing them way too heavy.
You're really into that scene.
That scene is
You're describing that scene like when I would read the first 40 pages of a book and then have to give a book report on it.
Yeah.
And all of my thoughts
Everything hinges on this moment.
No, because that scene feels like when they're trying to set up the movie and then abandon the rest of it. Another weird example of that is Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who comes in.
That stuff is insane.
Insane.
You're waiting for it to
pay off in any way.
In any way. He's like, oh, fine, I'll second the notion to have this thing.
And not pay off as a plot device, but just like, what's his function in this movie?
He was some guy in the book, and they needed to cast the character.
And in the opening scene, they're like, oh, we knew you only came here to the commerce meeting for your own reasons. It's like, okay, so they're setting up the character type.
And he's like, I said I would come if we stopped talking about these crazy schemes and ideas.
And then they just do, and then he's angry. He like.
But this is the thing. It's
is
like
protective of
Woodstock
Emil Hirsch.
did happen,
Right.
Like there's only so much that's going to get in the way.
Yeah.
You're saying that there's no. Yeah, I mean, there's no. What?
Right, they're mining the book, and they're like, "Oh, there was a city council meeting that was contentious." They're like, "All right, we're putting it in." Like, I think they're just sort of
But
looking.
that's the Titanic argument. I mean, it's like we know how it's going to end.
The Titanic sank.
But what you don't
It was
know,
a failure.
What you don't know is that there was this theater troupe
opposite.
living in the barn.
You don't know, and they never factor into the plot in any way.
That don't have anything to do with Woodstock, except they may have performed somewhere.
Yeah,
Possibly.
At this point, so this is like halfway through the movie, at which point we're just bullshitting because literally nothing is happening.
Yeah.
But at this point, I was like, oh, so this movie's not about this at all.
no.
There's two things that's not happening. One, I have no idea how far apart these two places are from each other. His hotel
Yeah.
and the farm. You mentioned the weekend motorcycle
That's
thing.
late.
Right, that's late, but at that point, he's like, it'll take you all afternoon to walk there. Let me give you a ride. But then every other point in the movie, he just walks between the 2 points.
Correct.
Implying it does not take all afternoon.
But the concert doesn't start until the last 30 minutes of the movie.
I
Maybe.
guess so.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of unclear when
in fact,
the
the concert never
begins.
starts. At
Right.
some point, you just start hearing the music.
Right.
Right.
But like,
And
you
there's
never,
a fence, Wilson-esque,
there's
as
a
you
fence
mentioned.
that Woodstock and Wilson are on the other side
Right.
of. But like, and the other thing is, like, you would expect there to be like 3 days to show, 2 days to show, like something that you're
Some
just
kind
like, the stakes are, and there's nothing like that because the movie's not about this at all.
No, it's one of the least propulsive movies ever made.
Alex, have you ever thought of doing a typewriter like this?
I mean, only if it said, Langley, Virginia. That's the only thing that should appear via
surveillance day 9.
Yeah, and also it'd have to have some Crichton-esque exact time.
Right.
Typewriter,
9:04 a.m.
9:04 a.m.
Right.
That I mean, otherwise don't use.
And there's a guy in a snap brim hat.
Yeah,
Should make this movie.
don't use the device if you're not going to do that.
Right.
But I was like, at this point, like the movie's half over, and you're just like, I wrote down here, concert seems to have begun, and like that's it. It's just at some point, I guess.
Well, at one point,
also-
someone goes, "Oh, it started."
Yeah.
and you're like, "Oh my god!"
And also at this point, the Jonathan Groff Lang character, he hasn't been in the movie in like 40 minutes.
He just has those early scenes where he's paying for it, and then there's that scene where Demetri drops in on the office where they're like organizing the whole thing.
Right, that's where Pally and Catherine are.
Right.
Like,
where Pally is, and like
which is split screen for no discernible reason whatsoever.
And Groff seems pretty stressed out.
Yeah.
And Demetri's kind of just a fly in the ointment. And then he leaves, and you're kind of like, but what was going on in there? And the movie's like, I don't know. It doesn't matter. And then there's the swastika thing that you mentioned.
Right, and his Jewish family gets hate crime.
And
because no one wants the hippies in the town, which I totally relate to.
Right,
This is the most empathetic part of the movie to me.
Because famously, the whole reason they did Woodstock was because Bob Dylan lived in Woodstock. And they were like, surely if we do a concert next door, he'll show up. And instead, Bob Dylan was like, I hate hippies and all the hippies are here now. Fuck you. Like, I'm not doing your dumb concert. I'm like going to Britain to, yell at people on stage.
Right.
And
I think you're thinking of Sam Kinison.
You're right.
I think you're confusing them again.
Mark Mayer did work the door at Woodstock.
Yeah. Also, David DeBitt's retired, so please don't mention where he went instead.
Shut up. And then you've got Liv Schreiber drops in where he's like, I'm going to be the bodyguard.
But I also won't ever go to the concert. I'll just be the bodyguard for the hotel.
Yeah.
Right.
Also, I was in Korea. Here's a picture of me, and I am wearing drag, and I have a gun, and here are my underpants.
I murdered a guy. I'm a grandfather. JK, except not JK about the last thing.
He does he reads like a Wikipedia entry, and you can just feel the movie being like, unbelievable. Like, can you believe it?
Yeah.
And then that's it. That's what the whole movie is like.
I feel like this movie is sort of like, it's like a 3D movie.
It's like a Magic Eye movie.
Where, like, because think about the future of, like, I just did VR recently, so it's like a V. Oh man, I lost my mind because I was on mushrooms. That's a whole other thing.
We have to talk about acid too, because you're probably have you done acid?
No, I haven't.
No, yeah, you're probably the only person here who's done acid.
And Anna, my wife, during the Paul Dano sequence was like, I want. This must be what it's like.
Yeah. What I've always been told is it's like you focus on like a table leg, and you're like, isn't it crazy how it makes like a shape here?
I did
or
kind of like that aspect of that sequence, that it's him really honing in on specific parts of the art in their van.
Right.
That is cool.
That felt kind of
visually, but also, like I said, it feels like it was added.
It does.
Yes.
Right.
Way later.
But my point is, I just wanted to say, this is like using that technology where the main plot of a movie is happening, and then you are bored and you walk away from it and you go somewhere else
So this movie is like a side mission in Grand Theft Auto. Like, you know, where you're like, I'm just going to drive a taxi for a while.
And they just built this because they're like, if any asshole wanders over here, we got to have something happening.
Right.
So, like, at this point, there's Nazis. There's anti-Semites. And at this point...
You're saying this movie is about, like, NPCs in a Woodstock game that they didn't spend a lot of time building out.
Yeah.
Like,
This movie is kind of like Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead.
Right. Like
if Rosencrantz and Guildenstern had never met Hamlet.
Like, it's like...
Hamlet? No, never heard of it.
Yeah, in Skyrim, you just, like, go to the merchant and you're like, what do you have? And he's like, here are my wares. And you're like, how are you doing? And he's like, here are my wares. And, like, that's it. That's all they did for him. Like,
right.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Liev Schreiber, I mean, like, at this point, Fogler's out of the movie.
Out. No more lines.
Schreiber's taking over. At this point, I wrote down the following disconnected notes. Dano shows up, failed Nashville vibe. Trip sequence, 40 minutes, ? And then I wrote 60s peace and love, oh hello.
Wow.
In reference to definitely one of my favorite lines in Oh Hello.
Right.
Where they're just doing this insane 60s pastiche about meeting at the campus of Columbia. And this movie feels like 60s peace and love, oh hello, minus any music.
Right.
The three...
Well, sort of a vague guitar feedback score. Like, that's...
Very
you know,
un-Elfman score.
Yeah.
A weirdly,
Right, it's fucking
completely
Elfman.
non-Elfman sounding score.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
The 3 days of the festival are what? The first day is the day where he ends up in the van with Paul Dano and Kelly Gardner, right?
I guess so.
I feel like that's got to be the second day because the whole
it?
thing is he hasn't gone over yet.
Right,
If it
the
was day one, it wouldn't be that.
Oh, so he only goes over twice, and the second day is, or that's the second day. The third day is when he just talks to Mamie Gummer for a little while.
And they're just like, remember how there was the electricity thing?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's like, people can't even go on right now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bummer. And he's like, oh, I guess I'll go back home. Then his dad's like, thank you for giving me life. He looks at an empty lawn and says, beautiful, while Jonathan Groff gets in a helicopter. And the movie fucking ends.
During the thank you for giving me life part, Anna was like, is this about the Holocaust? Like, is that what he's talking about?
Possibly.
Because they're very clearly meant to have fled.
Right.
You know,
because she talks about Russia, like she has a whole rant. Like
she says, I walked here from Russia.
Yeah, tease off the movie practically. There's also the LSD scene with the parents. They
go to the bank to get the loan, right?
We should remember.
They accuse the loan.
I don't think they're getting a loan. They are in arrears on a loan.
Correct.
It's like the bank is like, you owe us like $5,000. Correct. Where's the money?
They accuse him of anti-Semitism. He's like, anti-Semitism? These are the Catskills. What are you talking about?
He's like, anti-Semitism. I am a Nazi propaganda cartoon. Like, look at me. I am a rotund Jewish banker.
Yeah. What are you talking? Right. And it's like kind of like marginally funny. And then the rest of the movie, they're up against anti-Semitism.
Right. And then the
movie's trying to set up the concept that she's like, look at how ridiculous she is. She's trying to use anti-Semitism as an argument. And then they're getting swastikas on their
And
house.
not only do they get a swastika, the perpetrators are across the street leering at them. And Demetri Martin's like, they'll just do it again if we paint over it.
And then he says, paint over it before mom sees it.
Right.
But also when he goes into the diner to ask for the regular and all of them yell at him, they're like, we know we shouldn't have let you Jews into this town.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It does feel like, again, like, well, that's part of the story, so we have to get that aspect.
And I'll listen. I'd be in for a movie about like the Jewish community in the Catskills and like how that developed over time.
There
or like,
are movies within this movie that you would like to watch.
Right.
But this movie feels a weird like obligation to represent everything that happened, whether or not it's interesting.
I also just want to point out, and even though we can go back, but the worst thing is that the movie ends with a teaser for Altamont, which is like bizarre. Like, it's like worse than the teasing Watergate.
Stones, and it's gonna be cool.
Yeah, it's gonna be
go
great.
Wrong.
Like,
no
he
one's
might
gonna
as
get
well say,
murdered.
right, like, I've hired these great guys to do security. Like, it's like
have you heard of them? They're supposed to be angels. That is the last line in the movie, though. He's like, it's going to be a dream. That's the last line. There is no other line after he sets up Altamont. It is exactly like the Post. There's got to be other examples of something like that where something ends or it's like the 9/11 movie with Robert Pattinson.
My absolute favorite.
Yeah, remember me, right?
My absolute favorite is at the end of Fast 5, which has now been set up as a prequel to Tokyo Drift.
Right. It's 6 that's the final one before Tokyo Drift, right?
Right,
yeah,
but it's at the end of 5.
Yeah, when Han's like, maybe we should go to Tokyo.
They're riding off in the car, and Gal Gadot goes, so what are you thinking of doing now that you got all the money? And he goes, I'm hearing they're doing some pretty crazy shit in Tokyo. And the thought is, he's going to die in between movies.
Right.
And then he shows up at the beginning at 6, and they go, what happened in Tokyo? When I'll go there later.
Right.
I don't want to do another one of these. It's on the list. I'll get there. I think the line is literally, I'll get there eventually.
Right.
They're saying, like, we'll figure out our own chronology when we feel like
now about just thinking about Ang Lee making Taking Altamont, and again, no one
Certainly
you don't see the concert.
that would have been the intention somehow.
Yeah.
Right, and then Mamie Gummer at the end is like, "Your guy got stabbed."
She still has the same hat on. She hasn't taken it off in the intervening 6 months.
And like Paul Dano is like now in the Hell's Angels. I don't know.
Right, but the whole movie is just Demetri Martin having food poisoning while the whole concert's happening.
Yeah.
It's him balancing his taxes.
Certainly that was one of the most egregious examples in this movie of just so you all know this happened.
Right.
Here's this thing, like we're going to mention Wavy Gravy and we're going to mention all this other dumb shit everyone knows happened.
Right.
We're not going to have any of it. I wrote down here, 90 minutes in, still no needle drop. There has not been I was really excited for, all the crappy songs that we've heard a million
Get a
times.
job.
But the only song they play is the song from the Volkswagen commercial.
They play Red Telephone in the van tripping sequence, the love song, which is a great song that is not overused, but it's not really part of that concert. It's a weird choice.
Should we talk about LSD?
Yeah, do we care about the LSD sequence?
I mean, I'm just curious because
Ben's LSD
it's
corner.
excruciatingly unfun to watch.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
Because it involves characters that you've never seen before and you're certain you will never see again in the movie.
Right, they're like the Steve Zahn character in Lean on Pete, where it's like, in that where they're like, let's just introduce like a meth head, and this like, let's just introduce acid people. They live in a car. He's going to go in the car. He'll leave the car. We won't see them outside of the car.
Are you from
fucks
here?
both of them?
And he's like, yeah, I'm from here.
Yeah.
Where are you from? And they're like, California, Texas, Oregon. And he goes, you're from everywhere. And she's like, we're from everywhere. And it's just like, I hate this.
And
I
then they
hate this
go,
shit. I
you're
hate
from
this
everywhere
era.
too. He goes, no, I'm from here. And they go, yeah, you're really from here.
Wow, anti-Semitism.
Yeah. You dirty Jew. Okay, Ben's LSD corner.
I'm going to pee while you do your LSD corner.
all right.
You're going to miss it. You'll never understand.
So the effects in the movie are kind of close to what
Really?
it sort of feels like. It's very melty.
Yeah.
And the light.
And that focused in on certain things.
Yeah.
I do like that when they're changing coverage from like Demetri's perspective of the other characters to sort of the like God's eye views, that the color palette changes.
Oh, yeah.
That when it's like just the establishing shots, it's like him in darkness. And whenever it goes to him, everyone else is like bathed in sunlight.
But a lot of that looked, as with this little part of the sequence, like there was like all the exterior, like they are now at where the concert is stuff, looked really poorly green screen.
Oh, it's very green screen. It's hugely green screen. The end sequence with them, with
cleaning
Jonathan
up
Groff.
the trash.
Yeah, you just look at like hair, because hair is always the giveaway in green screen things.
I thought you meant the movie Hair with all the.
Oh yeah, you look at hair.
At this point, you just want to put on hair and keep grooving.
100%. But anytime they're in front of like the larger like actual concert area, even if it's in the background, it is so poorly green screened. Okay, so that felt like a decent visual approximation.
Yeah, it was okay, but
Do you think Aang has tripped balls? Did it feel specific enough that he would have to get it from experience, or do you think he just read books and tried to approximate it?
I think that he is a big Sid head. For sure. Definitely. Because I could just kind of tell, like, his vibe.
Yeah, definitely.
He definitely seems like that kind of guy.
Yeah.
Decided
who
that Ang Lee
He's
likes
like
to
an
trip.
acid guy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like every
But
week.
I did a lot of acid.
Uh-huh.
And
How much is a lot? I genuinely want to know.
Over 50 times.
It's a lot of time.
Guess what?
Over what period of years?
Yeah, like how often?
I did it last weekend.
What's the
Went to a dance party on Sunday.
what's
middle
the
of the day.
closest you would space 2 trips together though? Like if you do it, you're not like I'm going to do that again tomorrow.
Yeah, it's good to take a week off.
Okay,
It's nice to have a meal in between.
you're right.
Yeah.
But I drink some bottled water.
I've had a lot of fun. It's a
that's-
lot of fun.
That sequence does work for you.
Yeah.
That checks out.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's really boring to watch if you're just watching it when you're sitting on your couch.
But that's the thing. It's when you're doing it, everything is heightened. You're like, oh my God, this is so amazing. And you're literally just like moving something across the table.
Well,
Like,
watching people be
nothing-
stoned is
yeah.
almost always uncompelling.
It's
there is
excruciating.
nothing less interesting.
Yeah.
Than
It's
seeing
like when
that.
people are drunk, they might tell you their secrets, but when people are stoned, they'll like act like they're telling you their secrets, but they'll just be like, "I really like you."
You're really
People are
from
really
here.
hot.
Yeah.
They'll just kind of touch you.
But speaking of getting stoned and telling secrets, how does the scene where the parents trip check out for you? Because then after he comes back
they're
from
only
that,
on pop brownies.
they're eating
right?
pop brownies.
Yeah. Okay.
and then they pass out. They're
They
dancing.
dance around and they dig up the money from their
And then
floorboards.
his
Very
house
Breaking
scrubbing
Bad.
mom.
He
Right.
tucks them into. I mean, we're like at the end of the movie now. We've like nothing has happened. The concert has started, and he. Oh well, you mentioned earlier. He like goes on TV for some reason.
Right, he does a press conference and then
And they're
he
like, you
smokes
should do
weed
that.
beforehand.
They're like, you should do that. You're good at public relations. You look good in a suit, and he's all nervous.
This
Right.
is such a perfect example of it feeling like Demetri Martin perversely wants to show how much of a serious actor he could be.
Right.
Because it's like the setup for the scene is you got stoned right before having to speak on cameras,
Sure.
and he's straying away from any comedic angle on the thing.
Yeah, he just says free a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like,
just looks nervous.
It's about freedom. It's going to be fun. And then the cuts to like all these other people showing up, and they're like, "Did you hear the concert's free?"
Right.
But that seems a gimme. Like, I'm no fan of like guy gets stoned and then has to hold it together scenes in
Right, but
general.
like, come on, have some fun.
You have
here.
any
Yeah.
background in comedy, it's like this is the part where you get to let loose and at least try some shit.
Yeah, I forgot during the scene that he was supposed to be
Right.
They were supposed to be stoned in some capacity. But that happens. Other than that, I feel like there are no other scenes in the movie. He just kind of walks back and
there are
forth
not.
between these two destinations that could be like next door. They could be 3 miles apart. We don't know.
I'm going to put it around 1.5 miles. Something in between those two.
You know what? It's like a dad movie.
Well, totally.
But
It's
the
a fun
dad,
The last kind of
movie.
those things where they'd be like, man, we used to be cool. And then
Right.
2 years later, they're just like, people our age are finding love for the second time.
but the problem is that also like your dad would want to see the music.
Right.
Like we read it
he
and
would
we
be
can read
like,
the review.
"Where's Sha Na Na? Where are they?"
That's what's amazing
You're
to me.
really
Like,
griffing this bit. I mean, this
Sorry.
is a griff level
Fair
commitment.
enough.
I'm not complaining. I'm proud of you.
I truly didn't know until this movie was almost over that like, imagine how disappointing you would be if you'd be like, you want to go see the Woodstock movie? Yeah, we
Right.
used to love that stuff. And then you're just like, what's going on
The
here?
problem is like us as Ang Lee fans, we read like, and he doesn't show the concert. We're like, that's kind of cool. Sounds like my kind of movie. But the only people who would enjoy this movie are the people who adore Woodstock and the mythology of it so much, and they would be so frustrated by not getting to see Sha Na Na.
Because it's not even like the Michael Lang planning Woodstock movie. It's like,
No.
what about the guy who ran the hotel down the road? And it's like, well, that's, I guess, the least interesting conceivable take on a culturally significant event imaginable. Like, think of anything else that was relevant and think of that version of it where it's, you
It's
know,
like
the
Steve Jobs' neighbor.
right. And not even,
He
it's
sure
just
made
like,
a lot of computers.
it's just like, these are the people that like run the restaurant down the street from where Apple is.
and
then, like-
Apple people come in and they're like, "That computer's, we're gonna make
And
it."
they're talking about it. And then like, you can kind of look over the fence and see that they're building the cube.
See, that's what I was gonna say. I like the Steve Jobs' neighbor thing because it means that it's a guy just going to work every day, and every time he pulls the car in or out of the garage, he kind of maybe sees what they're doing for a second, and the rest of the movie is just him being really into macrame.
And then like once Steve Jobs comes over for a barbecue, and then they're like, "What are you working on?"
Something big.
Hey, wait, what if,
And credits.
other
what if
thing
you
we're-
tucked in your shirt
What?
into your jeans?
It's cold
other
out
th-
here. Well, why don't you borrow my black turtleneck?
The other thing we're not mentioning is this sort of gay awakening, but like
Kind of.
But you kind of have the impression he's already a little more. It's not like he is repressed.
He has a phone call with someone who seems like an ex-boyfriend at the beginning of the
Exactly.
film.
And then he
he
has
doesn't
this-
seem out to his parents, but it also doesn't seem that he's in denial necessarily or actively hiding it.
and then he has this crush on
Paul,
yeah,
handsome man
Taryn
named Paul.
Pettit.
And
they
they
make
sleep
out.
together,
There's a
and it's
carpenter.
cut past.
Yeah,
but then also when they make out, he looks back to see if his father's still there.
Right, and he's not.
right.
Yeah, it's glossed over like everything. I think this movie could have been cool if it was like 3 hours long and tripled its commitment to its concept.
Yeah. I also think like it feels like, especially coming after Brokeback Mountain, his notion was, let's make a movie where the character is gay and it's not about that at all, and I can just sort of normalize it. But then they pay so little mind to it that it feels almost like a 1940s studio movie where they're trying to code him as gay without actually saying that he's gay. Save for like the kiss.
Sure, no,
It's
I know
like
what you
they're
mean. I know what you
trying
mean.
to not
It
even
is a little-
acknowledge it, really.
But I do want to point out that this film was in competition at the Cannes Film Festival.
It won, right?
yeah, it won.
It won the Palm Dog.
But it was also nominated for four AARP movies for Grownup Awards.
That's one of the few facts on the Wikipedia page is that it lost Best Picture at the AARP movies.
You mean it lost Best Grownup Love Story?
That award show definitely has like a best remember that time movie, right?
Can you give me the nominees in the category?
Of Best Grownup Love Story?
Yeah, by the way, who are the grown-ups in love? The father at the end
Yes.
going, because I love her.
Yeah, so here are the nominees. Imelda Staunton and Henry Goodman in Taking Woodstock.
They list the nominees as the couple?
Correct.
Jesus.
All right, it gets wild. Helen Mirren and Christopher Plummer in The Last Station, which is mostly just like Tolstoy yelling at his wife, from what I remember. Marcia Gay Harden and Daniel Stern in Whip It. Who I remember being sweet.
They're both good in that movie.
This is just like the parents in a movie that's not about them.
Bingo. Well, but then it's going to get complicated because It's Complicated is nominated, and Meryl Streep and Alec Baldwin are nominated.
But
So it's a duo nominated. They ignore Steve Martin.
Who's the one she actually ends up with in the movie?
They uncomplicate it. Okay. We'll get to It's Complicated later. And then Julie and Julia wins for Meryl Streep and Stanley Tucci, which is a fairly nice Grownup love story.
Yeah,
right.
They fuck in that movie.
Well, the stuff with the parents in this movie is, I guess, touching. But, you know, that's the other end of the movie is that they do the pop brownies. They wake up. Imelda Staunton seems dead, but she's actually like put $90,000 worth of cash in the floorboards.
Yes, that she has been hoarding while Demetri Martin's been like sinking all his life savings into this shithole hotel that should be like condemned.
And they
by
made
the
$5,000 and she has 90.
Right.
And then he's just like,
I'm so mad at you about this. And like he
cries and the movie ends with him being like, I might leave.
Right, and Jonathan Groff being like, check out Altamont.
Then he goes to the field. It's all over. It's all muddy. Everyone's picking up garbage.
Right, Mamie Gummer's sort of like, she references the Maharishi or whoever it was who spoke.
Mamie Gummer says has a taste for theatrics, likes you. He flips over a card that says Altamont.
He also says, he's like, I'm sure we'll all
end up... Give me a point!
Sorry, Alex.
He says, I'm sure we'll all end up suing each other, which is like, well, I guess that probably happened, or else they wouldn't have put that dumb line in.
Right.
The other thing I wrote down is recently...
the Blu-ray has an audio commentary with Ang Lee and James Seamus. I kind of want to.
So they stand by it. They're not like we don't want to talk about.
What do you think? They're just like, this is boring.
What if the commentary track is them just in gales of laughter for 2 hours? They think it's the funniest movie ever made.
I was gonna say it's just them counting money.
It's him doing a skit with his 2 Oscars where they're characters that talk to each other.
But Brokey and Pie.
Yeah, Pie the Oscar.
His 2 Golden Lions as well.
I did one thing that a couple weeks ago, my wife and I were at an outdoor thing and she refused to use a porta potty. Real humble brag.
Fair question.
She said, I'm going to walk to a restaurant.
Fair refusal.
And while she was in the restaurant, I was looking at the porta potties and I was like, has this technology ever changed? And I saw in this movie, no, it has not.
No, it has not.
Nope.
Why is that?
It's a good point.
Why is it that, to use the Seinfeld bit, you can put a man on the moon, but at no point have they done anything to the porta potty since 1969?
Because I used a porta potty
like the best setup for a complaint.
It never will be. Yeah, until we put like a man on Mars or whatever. Right. I used the porta potty last week, and I had that very thought where I'm like, oh yeah, no, just a hole like that. That's the idea.
Pooping in a hole like
the way it just goes there.
But the way they show them in here, you're like, that's just the same thing.
Right.
Yeah. But then that's the end of the movie, and she has all the money. And he leaves, and you're left with this empty feeling about what you did for 2 hours. And most importantly, literally not one supporting character comes back in the movie for a curtain call except for this Altamont stinger
and Mamie Gummer.
Right,
her floppy hat. No, you're right.
Emil Hirsch, Dan Fogler, Liev Schreiber.
Yeah, you don't see like Emil Hirsch like with his arm around Dan Fogler being like, "You really helped me through all that."
You don't see
Vietnam
Eugene Levy
shit.
being like, "What on earth did you do to my farm?"
Right, that's true. He could have that moment. He's like, "It's so money. How will I make my chocolate milk?"
You want the Home Alone ending where it's on Demetri Martin's face. And you just hear Eugene Levy,
Jesus, Mary, and Joseph.
You kind of feel like this movie would be more interesting if it started at the ending and it was the fallout of Woodstock on this
it's
town.
Like in media res?
Cleaning up Woodstock.
Yeah. Honestly, like these people being like...
Taking out the trash at Woodstock.
This has got out of hand.
You think this movie would be better if it was Demetri Martin looking out over that field and him going, probably wondering how I got here?
Yes. 100%.
Well, let me start earlier. And then it's him in the village at Stonewall and he goes, no, not that early.
Forget that. Not interesting.
And then it's him decorating the mob headquarters and he goes, no, not that early. And then it's him with his mom and he goes, okay, right here.
And the mob's just like, now listen, we at the mob don't pay decorators. It's a famous rule.
It starts with him in the torch of the Statue of Liberty going, bonjour. That's still my favorite opening of anything.
That's one of the worst devices in one of the worst movies, I think, of the 21st century.
It is astonishing.
What movie?
The Walk.
We may do it on this podcast one day.
It literally begins with like Joseph Gordon-Levitt in a turtleneck with a beret, smoking a cigarette, doing mime, sitting on the Statue of Liberty, being like, Bonjour, I didn't see you there. Please.
It's an insane,
but like doing like
CGI.
bonjour, like doing a French. This is a man who speaks French doing like a shitty French English.
He's doing
accent.
like Pierre Escargot level shit, but it's like a crazy like CGI, like rapid fast camera zoom across the Hudson into like
He's sitting
the
on the
Statue of
torch,
Liberty
I
torch.
think.
He's standing in the torch and then goes, "Oh, hello, bonjour."
This is a real movie.
This is a real movie.
That people made him
Made by a man who won an
much like
Oscar.
Taking Woodstock.
Yep.
I will say, like, watching
Also
this
made
movie,
by a man who's won a bunch of Oscars.
Yes. Watching this movie and what I said an hour ago of like, this movie doesn't make you angry, it just kind of exists. I am now genuinely like furious having talked about
it's
this movie for
Are we
this long.
recording yet? Have we started?
Yeah, let's start the episode. Can I tell my
we're going.
my Scorsese Woodstock story?
Sure. Is it Marty
You know
was
this
talking to
story.
you? Possibly.
This is
You
like
told me
the
a lot of
best
Marty stories.
I have, and why not in this episode
Hey,
when there's
why not?
nothing else of interest?
Yeah, well, it's
to talk about
I
in
have
the
a big
movie.
overarching theory I want to propose in relation to Taking Woodstock. So there is one more thing of interest, hopefully.
Do you want to throw it out now? Or do you
No,
want to
it's
save
gonna.
it? Okay.
It'll be a good kind of conclusion to the discussion of the movie.
So this is the best piece of directing I've ever seen. And when people ask me, like, what's the difference? What do you see? What makes a good director? I tell them this story, which is on the vinyl pilot, which was just crazy exorbitant. It was like $20 million.
right? Yeah.
And
Almost the cost of Taking Woodstock.
Yes. It shot for 2 months, right? And it was just like an insane thing to be on where I had nothing to do, right? But I was around a lot.
That's a long time for not that much money.
Yeah. I think it went way over. The budget they gave him was $20 million to deliver a 1 hour episode, and he delivered a 2 hour. I think it ended up costing over 30.
Right, 2 hour episode in which Andrew Dice Clay is murdered.
And he was like, I'm having a hard time dealing with this limited budget. That was his big thing. And it was one of the most expensive pilots ever made.
I mean, most of that went to you.
Most of that went to me. I did, my quote at that time was $18 million.
That was that week of draft day. Before,
It was that week of draft day.
Before that Friday morning.
I locked down one deal where they were like, we got to get him. He's popping.
Because you were like, I got 8-track calling. And they were like, the vinyl guys were like, all right, fine. Sorry.
At the time, the show was called Rock and Roll.
It was. I forgot
Yes.
about that. It's a Tom Stoppard play.
I don't get it.
There is a scene in which it is Bobby Cannavale's birthday party, and the whole staff is there, and his friends are there, and his family's there, and it's like 3 overnights at this mansion in Staten Island, right?
Okay.
And you have like 20 principal actors, maybe even more, and you have like over 100, 200 background, all in this mansion. And Scorsese, who likes his seclusion, is quiet. They like in the living room of the house built like a cardboard fort for him. Like his like video village, because he likes to be totally shut off, was like literally cardboard walls duct taped together with a door and shit so that he had his space. And he's also like super asthmatic, and everyone was like smoking on the show.
Sure.
So most of the time his first AD communicates and comes in, and maybe once out of every 5 takes, Scorsese comes out and says his stuff, right? And he's a man who like doesn't over direct, says what he needs to say. But his big thing, which I learned doing this, was like he really likes to give people the freedom. The big thing he wants to do is flex the fact that he's Martin Scorsese to be like, they're not going to shut me down. They're not going to cut me
Are
off.
they going to fire Marty?
Right. I'm going to hire good people, and I'm going to give them the space to feel like they can't make any mistakes, and then just nudge them a little bit to get options, because he likes when surprises and mistakes happen and all that sort of stuff, right? So the scene is everyone's toasting Bobby Cannavale, and Olivia Wilde, who's his wife, gets up and makes this speech about, like, you all know that Richie and I went to Woodstock. You sent us there. What you don't know is what really happened. It was our first weekend away after we had the kid, and we went to the hotel room to check in, and we ended up not leaving the bed for the weekend. And so she's like blowing up his spot that he never actually attended Woodstock. He just got caught in a sex rut for 3 days, right?
Sure.
And Ray Romano, who's his like partner at the record label, goes like, "You kidding me? All these stories you were telling me, they're all lies you made up."
Is Ray here?
Yeah. Right? I mean, I'm here in the Ice Age. But the line he's supposed to say is, all the stories you told us, Alvin Lee singing, I'm going home.
Get a job.
Get a job, Sha Na Na. The big thing is Alvin Lee, I'm going home, right?
Uh-huh.
And Romano, who I think is a really
Great actor.
fucking good actor,
Great actor.
right? And watching him work, it was one of those guys who I
What'd
had
you do?
so much respect for. But it was one of those things where sometimes like you just get caught up on a fucking line,
Right.
and he couldn't get it right. And he would either say like Alvin Ailey,
Alvin and the Chipmunks.
right, or he'd say I'm going home instead of coming home,
Okay.
or he would like reach for it.
He couldn't get it.
Right. And they're doing so much coverage and crane shots and multiple things. They haven't gotten to Romano's real coverage yet. But he hasn't gotten one good take where it sounds like he knows what he's talking about. So every 5 takes, after the AD would just come and go,
what are you doing in the scene?
Standing, watching the speech, and smoking a cigarette.
Okay.
That's all I'm doing.
That's Griffin's, 90% of Griffin's role.
The crane is on
95.
The crane is on you.
Correct.
Right. Yeah, of course.
Here's what happened early in the day. The still photographer they outfitted her in period appropriate clothes so that she could be on camera. And she kept on pushing me out of view of the camera because she thought her job was more important than mine. Which I'm not saying mine was more important than hers, but she said to me, this doesn't even matter. You're not on camera. You don't need to be here. So I was just like, fuck. So I'm just getting paid to do nothing. I'm literally not visible.
Scorsese work.
Right. Which was...
All right, let's wrap this story up. Come on. Let's go. It's a good story. I'm just saying.
Much like Taking Woodstock, it's full of all these characters that don't really have anything to do with where the story is going.
And tangents that lead nowhere.
Get ready. This thing's going to pay off like a fucking slot machine.
Fuck hell.
Okay?
I better see some coins.
So every 5 takes, Scorsese comes out. Hey, what about this? Let's try it from this angle. Maybe this kind of thing. And Ray, it's Alvin Lee. I'm going home. And you go, yeah, I know.
Sorry, Marty.
All right, take after take after take after take. He comes out, and Ray, yeah, I know. And Ray's starting to get a little self-conscious about it, right? And now it's like finally on to Romano's coverage, and it's like 4:00 in the morning, and
God,
right, and he still hasn't gotten it right once. And Scorsese comes out, and he goes, and Ray, you know what I'm going to say? And he goes, I know. And he goes, it's important though. I mean, I was there. And
it's have a one-man show. This is great.
Dead silent.
This is like Elaine Stritch. Yeah.
Right. There are like 350 people on set, including like Mick Jagger.
So he says, I was there.
I was there.
Right.
Dead silent. And he looks around and realizes that he's holding court and just starts telling the story about him working at Woodstock for the documentary. Getting caught in a sex rep, right? But like pin drop silent. Everyone's there 4:00 in the morning. He goes, I just got out of NYU and Thelma was an editor on the film. So, they need a couple more people with the cameras. And they said, Scorsese could, he's pretty good. He could hold a Bolex. So they sent me over there. And he starts telling the story about being like the 5th camera guy for the Woodstock documentary and getting in all of these details about it and going, I just remember, Hendrix was playing in, this beautiful magenta sunrise. And I was, they were saying, hey, keep the camera on Hendrix. I want to just film the sunrise. I thought the sunrise was so beautiful. And he's like, it's just like this amazing, here's like Scorsese masterclass talking about all this. And he goes, Abby Hoffman, he gets up on stage and
during the Who, I believe.
Right. Yeah. Roger Daltrey, he takes the mic stand, he shoves him in the throat. And I said, why were you so angry? And he went, I wasn't angry. It was just time for me to play, my fucking concert, and then we'd gone through this weekend where we thought we had the dream and then we were going to take over. And then the dream was dead. Then Alvin Lee gets up and he ends off the whole thing singing, I'm going home. And we all realized, no, that's what this was. This was just a weekend. It's going to be an important moment historically, but it's not going to change anything for the worse or for the better. This was just a weekend where all this coalesced.
Uh-huh.
And there's just silence. Uh-huh. And then he turns back to Romano and he goes, so, now you know what the line means. And he walks away and he never fucks up the line again.
Wow.
And he knew in that moment it was more valuable to take 15 minutes without doing a take.
I'm not clapping.
To make it land in his mind so that he never fucked the line up again because now it was tied to an actual memory for him.
Yeah, because, man, Woodstock was what it was about. Oh, you know what I wanted to reference? Do you guys remember the made-for-TV miniseries event, The 60s?
I was going to reference it earlier.
I thought there was way more of it because I thought Leah Schreiber was in it, but it wasn't. It was Jerry O'Connell.
And was that
Julia Stiles was on the poster. She's like
girl.
A flower child. Just this kind of shit was everywhere for like 15 years.
Yeah.
And boy, am I glad that it's not anymore.
And we were already in a post-I Love the 80s culture.
No, not.
We moved on
but
for
it was
this
like,
movie, not for the 60s.
But it was that sort of era was kind of the 50th anniversary of things, for that whole decade where it'd be like, can you believe it? Like 50 years ago, this sort of shit happened.
But yeah, I guess Forrest Gump would have been like the 25th. It was 94. So it's just, people were just so into repackaging this shit and selling it to the people who either experienced it or always regretted missing out. out.
But this time, they weren't buying it.
Yeah, this was
Box
the end.
office.
Well, wait, real quick. Let me pause at one thing. And
I want to hear your big
sort of a
overarching
tangent.
theory.
So, like I said, I sort of buy this movie as like a Seamus blank check. Like as a team, they're so powerful. He can make his like upstate baby boomer movie.
Right. So Ang Lee's blank check. You're saying they got a blank check from Brokeback.
Brokeback does so well, and they're such a team that it's just like
Ang Lee's like, I'll do less caution.
it's a blank check that covers
Seamus
two
is like-
movies, neither one of which are
And
huge.
they have not collaborated again since this movie,
I think that's right.
Is that correct?
I think this is the last collaboration. Seamus obviously
Because I
directed
think
his
then
own
he left
film.
Focus,
Right.
and then like
That's
his
the
kind of
thing.
Focus
That's
gets sort of
'cause
totally
he's not-
rejiggered.
But I'm curious if that's true.
You're
but
right, because David McGee wrote Life of Pi, and some guy wrote Billy Lynn. It's too bad because like Seamus might have done a better job with Billy Lynn. That kind
I
of feels like a
think
good
so.
movie for him.
Well, no, I've never seen it.
It's such a bad script.
But here's my question, like, because I've listened to the series up until this point. Obviously, there's some in the middle here that haven't come out yet. But like, I don't see any Ang Lee in this movie.
No.
Sure. How do you feel about
Like,
Ang Lee in general?
I mean, so this is my
ask.
point. Like, I think Ang Lee is a good filmmaker.
Right.
I think he's a good filmmaker who has made great movies.
Sure.
I think he's a good filmmaker who's made masterpieces. I don't think a great filmmaker, truly like one of the
Could
canon,
make such an anonymous movie.
yes,
Yeah. Right.
And I don't think his lows fit in to the body of work of a master. In the way that I think
Interesting.
even the low Clint Eastwood movies are clearly of a piece. I think that Ang Lee is so much, has some like comparison of like the kind of other person he is. I can't remember right now, but it's just like,
What's the notion of like if you want someone to fail, you want them to fail with like a quintet,
Yeah.
rather than a Taking Woodstock.
right. Yeah. And also I think Quintet's a good movie.
Hey, that's
Better,
a cool
it's better
opinion.
than some other Altman movies of that time period. But I think, but like, I just don't think because he's made great movies. Like I just listened to the Ice Storm episode and it's just like, God, I love this movie. I could watch it anytime. Like this is
Hulk's
incredible.
an American masterpiece.
Hulk, I have fond memories of. I saw him do a Q&A for it at Tisch when I was in school there. But like, there's just something about him that's like, I think historically he will decrease radically in his importance. I think in like 30 or 40 years, it'll be like, he made quality films at a time that actually mattered. He won a bunch of Oscars, but, and this is a question for you, having like lived in him, like the movies of his I haven't seen, I was like, I should watch those before those episodes. And then I was just like, I don't care. I'll just listen to the episode. And
which ones hadn't you seen?
I hadn't seen the first three.
Sure, the Taiwanese.
And I was like, I should watch those. And then I just started listening to it and I was like, I get it.
See, Eat, Drink, and Wedding Banquet, I would say, are wholly worth
Check 'em out.
I'm sure they
They're
are.
good,
yeah.
But as soon as I started listening to the episode, I was like, I get it. I've seen this video box a billion times. I've seen the trailer. Like, and I just like my question listening to the series is like, I think over time people will just be like, he made really prestigious films. He won a bunch of Oscars. His movies were occasionally really great. But I don't think he has any influence. I think this becomes the measure of like what becomes like those directors from like the 50s and 60s that were clearly very important but have no lasting impact.
Sure.
Because if like in 20 years, and I think currently, I mean, he's almost 30-ish years into a career.
Yeah.
No one has ever been like, I mean, that's my guy. Like,
Ang Lee is the guy I'm
like,
trying to do.
Interesting.
talk about your biggest influence on this movie. I really wanted it to be like an Ang Lee movie. People would be like, well, what does that mean?
Right. And
Unless
it's partly
it's-
because he's so
yes.
chameleonic.
Unless it's
Yeah.
just like I made this movie about like my family's ethnicity and like this sort of, low key emotional drama, but people still, they wouldn't be like, he's the guy I kind of want to make movies that are like. And this doesn't mean his movies are less than great.
Sure.
It just means that like over the next 30 years, I think if that doesn't happen, it'll just be like, well, he just was he was like the end of that system. And he made these like super prestigious good movies. His influence was zero because like there is no generation of filmmakers that are like, that's the guy. Like the way Scorsese is just like, forget about it. Like that's everybody for decades is like.
I do have a story about Scorsese and Woodstock if you guys want to hear it quickly. I will.
But you know what I mean?
say
Like
too-
this is my question. Like,
I can't tell if you're doing a bit.
yes, he's going to tell the story again.
that was yeah. What do you?
But this is
work.
this is what I've been
job.
thinking about listening to the series and looking at some of the movies. It's just like, what will he be like in 30 years? Because I
That's
think
interesting.
his impact on film culture since the 90s has been huge because he's made great movies and won awards.
Yeah.
I think his influence on film culture has been as low as a massively successful, important director could be.
I do think there's kind of a fulcrum point leading up to Brokeback, where up until that point, almost all the movies really work around that sense of family.
Right. He makes these movies, but that's not so much an influence. There's themes to pull out of his work.
But
for
I'm saying,
sure. Yeah.
but through the prism of that, how he chooses to shoot those things, how he
This
works
is a
with
fucking
actors,
family
the
movie.
tone, all of that. But then this doesn't really feel like it has any of that
This is a shitty movie.
juice.
But I mean,
Yeah.
it's got Jews though. But this,
Juice.
But this does feel like a movie like The Ice Storm or Ride with the Devil or any of the where he's like, here's like a moment in American history. We're going to focus on the family and the generational divides and the way like cultural mores are changing.
Yeah.
But then this movie's just so shitty. Like,
But then it's like, and now like a CGI tiger on a boat. Like,
Right.
that's the thing is like,
Life of Pi isn't his movie. Like Life
Right.
of Pi is developed by Shyamalan. Like other
Jean
people want to
Pierre
make
Jeunet.
it. Yeah.
Look, we'll
and then
cover that
Ang Lee
next
just comes
week.
on board, makes that, and is like, my thing now is I make 3D movies.
Yeah.
And like that's apparently his thing now.
He only wants to make 3D
He's like,
movies.
if I'm making a movie, it's 3D, high frame rate, baby. Like we're doing it up.
I don't think Gemini Man's high frame rate, but I believe it is 3D.
I think it's not high frame rate because a studio like shot the high frame rate camera with a gun. And they were like, never again will we do this horse
We'll talk about
I
this
said horse
15 more times, but it is insane that like Peter Jackson did it with The Hobbit and everyone was
Right.
like, no way, too much. And Ang Lee's like, the problem was it should be twice as much as what Peter Jackson did.
and a less action packed movie.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
yeah, I've never seen that.
Oh,
It's crazy.
It's insane.
I wanted to see it in high frame rate, but it came and went.
Yeah.
Much like all of his bombs, like this. Like I just,
Yeah.
it's very confusing for me to ponder him because he's always been around. His movies are important.
Right. He has 2 Oscars, which only of his contemporaries like Clint Eastwood and Spielberg. Right.
But I
Like,
think that like that's almost proof that like
Iñárritu.
and in here.
right. That's kind of a motley crew.
It is.
yes,
It's
it
quite
I
a
just
motley
think that
crew.
that's almost proof that like his movies exist in a different form.
Yeah.
And like they're just like some of them are quality enough to like kind of hoodwink the Oscars, which is of course how you win an Oscar. Everybody knows you have to just
Right.
fool people. But then like no one will ever look at Billy Lynn's Long Halftime Walk or Life of Pi as like a young person and be like, those are the kind of movies I want to make.
No, there's nothing to extrapolate from even their failures.
And that just makes me curious, like, who is he as a filmmaker, if not someone who makes a bunch of money, wins Oscars, and like literally, I believe, has influenced no next generation of successful filmmakers.
That is
And it's very interesting because a lot of people are like that. That doesn't mean that their movies suffer. It just means that like over the next generation, what will become of their reputation?
Right.
In the way that like
Norman Jewison, someone like that.
Great
Franklin
example.
Schaffner.
Yes.
He made Planet of the Apes.
Yeah. And
No
he
one
made
ever
Patton.
thinks about it. He made Patton. He won
Won
an
Best Picture.
Oscar. Yeah. Jewison's a good one.
yeah, these are great examples. Like
Right.
total pros.
Yeah.
And this is a movie about a Jew son.
Yeah. Robert Benton.
There you go.
Yeah. Taylor Hackford. No, I'm kidding.
He wishes. He wishes he was
That's
at this
what,
level.
that's what he's striving for.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's just everything else I'm thinking of is kind of more genre specific, but it is those kind of like, I'm going to make a comedy, then I'm going to make like a sweeping Best Picture melodrama, and then I'm going to go to some other my home country. It's just like, there is no consistency to it
Right.
in a way that, like, for some directors is kind of fascinating. For Ang Lee, I think it's just kind of frustrating.
This
Because-
is, yes.
I
hear
feel
what
like
you're
you've been
saying.
frustrated with some of our choices recently
In what?
in miniseries
Oh,
topics.
not at all.
Well, I mean, I know you love the show, which we greatly appreciate.
You feel frustration with the directors.
Sometimes you're like, well,
Their
you
work
know,
rather
or
than our
when you're
coverage
thinking
of their
about the
work.
directors as auteurs.
Well, I'm
you'll
only
chat
thinking
with
about
us.
them as good episodes.
Sure.
Sure.
Again, I
Blank
who
you
loves
for
the
the
show.
show.
That's
Do.
great.
On what?
Like if you could pick a director.
good question.
If I had
Who would
Twitter
be your
and voted
bi-
in your
Yeah,
bracket,
who would be your
Right.
biggest wish?
like period.
Yeah.
Jeez, that's a. You should have given me time to think of that.
No, well, you can think
While I
about
was
it.
locked
Think
out of the
about it.
studio.
Now I'm just thinking
And we'll-
about Alex like starting like an edgelord Twitter account just to vote on brackets.
I don't know if this is if this
and
is
post
something.
dank Simpsons meme.
Yeah, it would just be an egg. It would be the egg logo.
I don't know if this is something you don't want me to share, in which case we can cut it out. But you told me
Better
that
just test it by putting it on mic in case.
right. You told me that your newest film is really influenced by Verhoeven because you were listening to our Verhoeven episodes were coming out when you were prepping the movie.
Right.
So you started planning the whole thing through
Based
the
on
prism
Verhoeven.
of what Verhoeven.
Also, because
Yeah,
that's a miniseries
that's
that
crazy.
that can stay in there.
but it like
that's a
made
very
him
high
on the
compliment.
dome in your mind. The fact that like you were listening and thinking about those movies every week.
Right, I was just like, this is what it's about. Like this
On the dome in your mind. What
12-week
am I talking
conversation distills the essence of a filmmaker who I think is very under discussed in the exact right way. And Ang Lee is the same. Like, no one thinks that seriously about him because they just think he makes successful movies.
Sure.
So, like, digging in to garbage like this, or like some of his masterpieces, like Sense and Sensibility, is like really interesting because he is such an anomaly. There's no one like, he doesn't follow any tradition of like the industry having, you know, foreign filmmakers who like completely end up making movies in another country.
But
nor is there
Hoven,
any.
Yes, as a counterpoint, when you were here covering that, I think I said in the Hollow Man episode, like, if this is the worst film you make, you're a really, really great filmmaker.
Right.
Not because that film is great, but because it's so bizarre and esoteric that it's like, if this is the most anonymous thing he can do, and it still has this much of his DNA that can't be beaten out of it.
Right.
This is a paycheck movie?
Yeah, and this feels like that almost. This feels like the Paycheck movie, even though it's not. It's totally like the end of a decades-long collaboration. And yeah, I mean, maybe this will be the bottom of your rankings. I'd imagine it will be. Are you doing a bonus episode on The Hire?
I kind of want to. We'll talk about that later. Box office game.
Remember The Hire?
I remember
The
it
Hire.
vividly.
But can we do all of The Hire?
Maybe.
No.
Fine.
You have to
Fine.
parse it
We
out.
have to save them.
I don't have an answer for that, Ben. If you brought up the bracket, I could give you my picks. There
sure.
was some
We
in
could
that
probably
bracket.
find the
I looked
bracket.
at. There was some I was super nervous about potentially having to listen to.
Don Bluth.
No, that'd be great.
Yeah, Don Bluth would rule.
I thought the Brad Bird series proved that animation is, like you're saying, like it just doesn't get talked about in the same way.
Yeah, sure.
Whereas certain things are just like, do we need to keep talking about this?
I would like to.
Yeah, now I want to know who you didn't want. That's
if you bring it up, I'll run down.
I'll find.
I'll say, just to call a shot on Mike, I would like to cover one animation director per year, just because they generally have very short filmographies as well.
We can talk about.
I'm just
that
saying that's the
offline.
thing I would like, and I'm going to let people respond to
when
that.
you
online.
have your like entire Blank Check podcast network, you could just
Yes.
have the animation one.
Yes, the BCN, which is an offshoot of BCP.
Right.
Or BCM, Blank Check Media.
Let's do the box office.
Okay,
game.
box
What have we
office
done? Like
game.
2.5 hours on this fucking movie?
Yeah.
Okay, cut the whole episode out, Ben.
All right, let's do the box office.
Is it really 2.5 hours?
No, I don't think it is.
No.
What is it, Ben?
It is
2:21, but we had a lot of chat.
a lot
on
of,
Mike.
and I'm gonna,
Yeah,
I wanted, but see, that was part of my goal. Is I was like, you don't want this to be, as Griffin has described things to me, as one of our least essential episodes. Like, I was like, in best case scenario, this conversation can elevate this movie to the point where it's like, that's worth thinking about.
I mean, that's why you're a great guest on Blank Check.
You also,
for these weird one-off failures that
yeah.
great directors do.
You also know that Ben isn't going to release this episode. Instead of releasing this episode, he's going to release an episode about someone working on at their desk in the audio boom office while we record the episode.
honestly that's
Taking
super
Woodstock.
funny.
Yeah.
And can I put that out?
Yes.
So what I'll do is I'll release this episode, but then I'll
Bonus
also
ep this
record Rachel,
Yes.
my coworker,
Right.
just working at her
Just-
desk.
And then, like, at some point, you just hear the dulcet tones of the opening and Griffin, and she just goes, I guess it started.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
But then does she like get a really big lunch and she sort of like
Guys,
has
no,
to like
spoilers!
you know
then
she just sort of like takes a nap.
she gets a call from her dad, and she's really upset.
Right.
She
Turns
walks
out
in
her-
here, and all the chocolate milk is there, and she goes, I guess I missed it.
Guys,
And then the last shot is her just looking at the chocolate milk as someone says, hey, we're going to record this Hulk episode next.
Ben, look me in the eyes.
Yeah.
Look for that in your feed this Thursday.
Okay. Yes.
Hells yeah.
Jesus Christ. All right. The
Box
box
office
office game. This movie premiered at the Cannes Film Festival 2009.
I did see a weird thing on Wikipedia that it opened on a Wednesday and then went wide on Friday, so they didn't even try to platform it.
That's
it was
such a boring attempt at platform. Like,
limited release for
right.
2 days, for
Right.
Why do
48
that?
hours.
And it,
Yeah.
you know, it opened wide. It opened in 1,300 screens. Like,
yeah,
you know,
that's
sort of,
wide for this movie.
No, it is. I know. But like,
Right, Demetri
it's
Martin
not going to
vehicle?
open big if
No,
you do that.
no.
Like, it's not
No,
going to
it's
open
not.
big no matter what.
That's why it's like the whole thing feels like a fucking
It's
show.
still open number 7, which is not terrible.
No.
But it was an August release, which
And
is
made what, like $3 million?
it opened to 3.4. It made 7.4.
Yeah.
9.9 worldwide.
Ooh.
Didn't crack 10.
No.
But it's quite a cool. As I love August, October, February box office
Yes.
games the best because
Okay,
it's
wait.
always just the
Give me
weirdest.
the weekend again.
August 28th, 2009.
Okay, I can place myself in the time. Yep, go.
Congrats. What are you doing in 2009, Alex?
At that time, my first movie was like
about
at
to
film
say,
festivals.
isn't that
So I can start
right?
dating my life very easily because it's like, oh yeah, I think I had just been to this festival in Australia for like my
Is
first
that Impolex?
Yeah.
Is that, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2009, and then I was doing nothing. I was staying at home trying to avoid spending money.
Sure.
See,
fair
this was
enough.
I was filming Beware the Gonzo during this. This was like the first
Horny
movie
Rob
I'd
Becker.
gotten, and I thought here I am. I've made it. This is the beginning.
So yeah, I can kind of date myself to that.
Right, yeah.
Also at that time, my friend, filmmaker Aaron Katz, the only time our significant others worked, and what we would do like once or twice a week would be make a point to go see the most garbage double feature imaginable.
The two of you together? You would go like,
we would go to like a
like
1
a
and
date.
a 3.
Cool.
And like that was our day and we had nothing else to do. So there's a huge amount of just trash movies from 2008 and 9 that I saw double features with Aaron.
So, all right.
Okay,
So,
Doldrums, August,
all right.
09.
Number one, opening this weekend is, I'm going to say the 5th in a horror franchise. The 4th. Oh, I don't fucking know what it is. It was one of them.
Is it the Final Destination?
Yes, it's the Final Destination.
Right, which is the 4th because it's not the last one. They
Right,
made
then
one more.
They
after
did
that.
5. They just did the 5th one, and it was Final Destination 5.
Correct.
Which really is weird.
Because they thought we were going to end it, and then there was a box office bump on 4,
This
which was in
opens
3D.
to 27.4 million,
Yeah.
makes 66. Well, it's not that great. But
Solid
whatever.
movie.
That's a good number. Yeah, that
I have
franchise
not seen
is
that
pretty
one.
interesting.
I haven't seen that
seen-
either. I said solid movies. I don't know about 4, but
Right.
2 and 3 I revisited last year.
2 and 3 are pretty
Or
great.
saw 2
Yeah.
for this revisit and saw 3 for the first time. Good.
Yeah, I like
Which
that
one is the logs? 2?
That's
3?
2.
Yes. Because
3
I
is
saw
the
Three's
the
the
roller
roller
coaster.
coaster.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the amusement park.
Those are the good ones.
1's the plane.
1 sucks. 1's not even that good.
Yeah.
I sent you the bracket.
Oh, I don't have like a way. Oh, did you text it to me?
Yeah.
Okay.
It.
Okay,
So-
I don't have email on my phone, so the only way to see it would be to turn it around.
I'll swing it around for you.
if you want me to break it down.
Yeah. Number 1. Number
thank you,
1.
Ben.
Number 2.
Number 2 is a Best Picture nominee this year. A huge hit.
District 9.
Inglourious Bastards?
Correct. District 9 is number 4, though.
There were 2 August Best Picture nominees in
Correct.
1 year. That's pretty crazy.
Inglourious
This was the
Bastards
first expanded field year,
opened,
too.
last weekend.
When
so
you
this is
said
its second
August
weekend.
2009, I was just like, Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah, I remember those 2. I knew they would both be in the 5.
My main memory of that month was how excited I was for that movie.
Right, which is a very good movie.
I still think it's maybe his best film. It's that or Jackie Brown for me.
Jackie Brown.
I go between the 2.
When are you guys going to talk about him? Under discussed filmmaker.
Yeah, right.
God, the amount of people on Reddit who are like, it's weird that they haven't done Tarantino yet. And I'm like, it's weird, huh? Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
Number 3. Whew. How to describe this? Another horror film opening this weekend as well. Weird that 2 horror films that go opened
that's
against each
dumb.
other.
Is it a franchise?
Yeah, the second in a rebooted franchise.
It's not The Hills Have Eyes 2. is
No,
it?
but like
It's that kind of thing.
You're in the right
And about that pedigree,
higher.
in terms of name stats, it's higher than
pedigree. Yeah,
that? Higher pedigree.
I did not see this film. I did see, I think, the first reboot. Yeah.
Okay, but
And it was like the person who rebooted the movie, they liked his take enough that they let him do another one, I guess.
Oh, it's H2, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2.
Right. Family is Forever.
we should do Rob Zombie.
I kind of like Rob Zombie as a filmmaker.
Yeah, that would be a great series.
Devil's Rejects is a very good film.
You know what's interesting about that is that I've maintained for years. I was like, Anna, this is a great movie.
Yeah.
You'd love it. We watch a horror movie every day in October. And we watched 2 years ago. She's like, fine, let's finally watch it. And then half an hour into it, I was like, this movie sucks.
Really?
Yeah, it does. It's not good.
Fuck.
That my thing with Rob Zombie is he's not good.
See, I loved it at the time,
Me
and
too.
I even watched it like 3 years later, and I was like, no, still fucks, and I don't think I've seen it in 10
I
years.
checked it. I watched it every once in a while. I have it. I
That's
have
a
it.
bummer.
He was one of those guys where like the first couple times you're like, this is new. It's different. And then by the time he's making the haunted world of El Super Bisto, you're like, this guy is such a one-trick
Not even
pony.
that,
It's
like
fucking
Lords of
nuts.
Salem.
I think
or
I
whatever.
think that one's good.
Really?
Lords of Salem is good.
Lords
yeah.
of Salem was after.
But yeah,
I know that
I was bummed to finally convince her to watch Devil's Rejects, and she was just like, "I can't believe you think this movie's good." And I was like, "I kind of don't anymore."
All right, so you're not excited for 3 from Hell?
I am though. I thought 31 was okay too.
I didn't see 31.
Halloween 2 made $33 million on a 15 budget. I mean, whatever.
Yeah, but the first one did much better.
I think yes. How many Halloweens have there been? This is the 4th
10?
highest grossing Halloween film.
I think they're 10 in total.
There's
'Cause
10
I think
in total.
Resurrection was 8.
Right, and then there are 2
and then those
zombies,
two.
Correct.
and then David Gordon Green's is going to be the 11th.
And tell me the highest grossing Halloween movie.
2?
H2O.
No, it's the Rob Zombie one.
Oh,
Interesting.
crazy.
It made 58. Like it's not. This has never been like a
Well,
cash.
no,
I know.
for the
obvious-
first one, you're not
The
adjusting
first-
for inflation.
Isn't it
I
amazing
know
that
I'm
they
not. I
made
know.
a Halloween movie 20 years after the first one and they called it H2O?
Insane.
Yes, it is.
And that one did.
And there's no water.
If you adjust for inflation, that movie
But
did
I
really
like
well.
it. I think
Yeah,
that's
that movie
kind
did.
of cool.
That movie did very solid.
Yeah.
I think it's really funny when how they did that.
H2O.
Well, it's just because it's wet and it's wet stuff. I like wet stuff.
Yeah,
They should have made, instead of
not a wet
Resurrection, the next one should have been called Halloween Fire.
It's just weird that it's called H2O, and that was one of the early ones to ignore sequels.
Correct.
And now they're doing it again with Halloween.
I don't think that one ignores sequels. I think it just brought Jamie Lee back for the first time.
No,
in a
it
while.
ignores it. It
Does
ignores
really?
all the bullshit about how Michael Myers is like, revived by witches and all that stuff. It's a sequel to Halloween 2.
I've only ever seen
Much
the
like this
original.
next one is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right.
So because at the end of H2O, she chops his head off with an axe.
She chops his head off and looks at his face.
Think of
and
all
then in
the-
Resurrection, they're like, it was some other guy.
And Resurrection's Buster Rhymes.
Oh yeah, I believe it's like
that's
web
correct.
streaming. He's
Yeah.
doing. Imagine all the things I don't remember and don't know, and I can instantly recall how she kills Michael Myers at the end
I
of
know.
H2O.
Yep.
I hate my brain
Steve
so
Miner
much
movie.
in that way. Yeah.
Josh Hartnett's in it, I believe.
Michelle
LL Cool
Williams?
J, Michelle Williams.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
And number 4 is District 9, which we talked about. You
Right.
nailed that.
Number 5.
It's the first in a 2-film franchise. Made a fair amount of money. Action movie.
They only made 2 of them.
They only made 2 of them.
The bad guy has a cool voice.
Okay. Oh, what?
A lot of people
Crank.
in this movie. No, good guess.
It's not a
It's
Neville
going to
being
make
Taylor.
150. It cost
Jeez.
175.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh. This is, of course, G.I. Joe Rise of Cobra.
Correct. Yeah, so Steven Summers film, I believe.
A movie I kind of go to the mat for.
I like Summers.
I think that's
I like
the
Deep
right
Rising.
level of dumb.
Summers
do
would
a
be a good
Cobra?
series. Summers of Love. I feel like we talked about Summers on the Hollow Knight
Duke!
episode.
Yeah, didn't we talk about Van Helsing?
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, right.
I will take down the G.I. Joes.
I like.
He's pretty
I
much
love Deep
Starscream,
Rising.
right?
Oh yeah.
Megatron!
God, this is just another reason we'll never do Michael Bay. We'd have to hear that voice. We've also got Julie and Julia. We've got The Time Traveler's Wife, another famously delayed movie.
This is a kind of big Rom month. Romilly was
Romilly's
really
into
swimming
these.
in it this month.
That movie made me cry. Shorts.
Oh, Robert Rodriguez's Shorts. That's one of my favorite movie theater marquees of all time was when that and Inglourious Bastards were both out at the same time at the Court Street. The Regal Court Street had said Inglourious Shorts.
G-Force.
I saw that.
Did you see G-Force?
I
The
saw
hamster
G-Force.
movie?
Yeah.
No.
With
Zach
Aaron.
Galifianakis?
Yeah.
No.
No, again, what a horrible thing for my brain to have bothered to retain. Our all-time worst double features, the all-time worst was Appaloosa and College.
Oh, jeez. Wow. Alex, wow.
This is what I used to do with my time.
Yeah.
This is why I'm so happy to have jobs now, because it saves me from doing stuff like that.
I remember.
That was the bottom.
Appaloosa's bad then?
Appaloosa was really boring. College, I think I maintain, is probably the worst movie I've ever seen in my life.
Wow. Starring Kevin Covey and
Vern
Drake
Troyer's in
Bell.
there somewhere. We also saw Lakeview Terrace and Ghost Town. This is like how we would spend our time.
Lakeview
Terrace, I kind of
is
like.
wild.
I kind of like that.
That's
movie.
a weird
That's
movie.
an insane
These are the
movie.
kind of movies that I'm the
What
most
was it?
excited.
Ghost Town. Ghost Town's cute.
I mean, sure.
Yeah, yeah.
As a gentleman say.
Yeah, these are the kinds of movies I'm the most excited when I hear them come up on a box office game where you're just like,
You're just like, oh, wow.
Lakeview Terrace.
Yeah, Lakeview Terrace, where it was like, what if the guy next door is a cop and he doesn't like you
And he has a
he's
spotlight.
Samuel Jackson?
My
Why
buddy-
is he mad at him? Who's the lead of Lakeview Terrace? It was like
Patrick
Tom
Wilson.
Jane, Patrick Wilson.
It's Patrick Wilson, Kerry Washington. I think live next door to Samuel Jackson.
And
He
it's a
doesn't-
Neil LaBute movie.
Correct.
And he's like doing that thing where he's like, I'm asking questions. And we're like, you're not asking any questions, Neil. You're just like, what if the guy's black?
I think Sam
that's his
Jackson's really good in that way.
question.
There's a really good
He's
moment.
always good. When is he ever bad? That's a real never
I think
bad.
sometimes he's lazy, but he's never bad.
He's like
Sure, he might
Eugene Levy, if you will.
Sometimes
take a look
he's
at the
doing the
bracket.
bare minimum because
And
he
you just-
knows his bare minimum
You
is
just
more
want me
powerful
to
than
kind of
most.
say what would be cool. Well, first of all, I'm very happy and excited about Nancy Myers. I will
good.
say.
That's
Yeah, I think it's good.
I think that's going to be very cool. Yeah, I mean, a lot of these are like kind of obvious.
David
kind of
and
thing-
Ben are canoodling.
Yeah, they are. They're touching each other. I mean,
I'm a real touchy guy.
I think Gore Verbinski would be cool.
Yeah.
Peter Jackson, I think, would be cool because I
Agreed.
really love and care about all 6 of his Lord of the Rings movies.
Disagree.
Sure, I kind of do too.
So I think that could be very interesting. I hope you don't ever do Hal Ashby. Sorry.
Really?
That would just be so excruciating. Who cares? There's nothing left to say.
Do you hate Al Ashby, or you just think it's
I
shoot
think
over?
you're right. I think you're right. There's nothing left to say.
This is my
There is some
criteria.
big doc about him coming out this year, I think.
Right. I think it was at Sundance or
Yeah.
something. There's just nothing left to say. Like, could
Sure.
you fill up 90 minutes talking about Harold and Maude? Like,
Well, I despise that movie.
I like that movie, but I would not want to do
And
an
like, you
episode
know,
on it as much as some
8
of the
Million
other
Ways to
just
Die,
because
Looking
everyone's
to Get
talked
Out.
about
These would
it
be
so much.
excruciating
Sure.
episodes, and you'd have to force people to listen to them.
Well, we're never actually gonna
I
do
think the
Hal
thought
Ashby.
was that we'd only do the 7 days.
Martin Brest would be very cool.
Martin Brest would
He'd be
the
fun.
best.
Gilliam, cool. Joe Dante, cool.
Dante would be great.
Nora Ephron, cool.
Efron would be great.
Sam Raimi would be excruciating.
Oh,
Really?
we might do him. I'd love to do him.
It's just going to be so boring.
We've gotten close.
You don't like Spider-Man? You don't
I
like
love
those? Right.
Yeah,
Spider-Man!
I really, really love two of his 14 movies.
You're not an Evil Dead guy at all.
No, I actually think I hate those movies.
Really?
Sure.
I mean,
Kind of a hot take.
my capacity for watching like 80s and 70s like underground horror is literally bottomless.
Yeah,
I think
right.
those are
That's
some of
your
the worst movies
genre.
I've ever seen.
That's
Wow,
insane.
that's crazy. I like those.
This is all
movies.
good stuff.
Yeah.
So you're saying
Aronofsky, cool. Luc
we
Besson, that would be
We're good
excruciating.
curators. We're good.
Michael Mann will be great. I feel like that came close, right?
Man, we're gonna do. I mean, I'm just gonna make that happen. That
At
just
some
has
point.
to happen.
Oh boy, the argument,
Malik would be interesting.
the concession you're gonna have to make to me when you agree.
Oh, you mean like you're gonna get
There's
man
gonna be
out of me, and I'm gonna have to let you do fucking Casper, a Spirited Beginning 10
yes,
times?
there's gonna
or
be like
whatever?
a
That's
quid.
what we should do for 200.
There's gonna be like a quid pro quo where I agree to let you do man, and you agree to let me do Brad Silverland.
No.
I think some of these are like Elaine May, Warren
You want to
Beatty.
do man?
Those
you
would be
little
cool because those are
piss
short.
ants.
Those would be cool because those are short.
Yes,
Those would be like
Short's
fun.
always
I like doing shorties.
I mean,
yeah.
that man is also short. You know, some of them are good shorties. Sam is getting long.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Baz Luhrmann would be great.
Lerman, I'd love to
He's
do.
like
And
one
actually,
of the most
recently,
applicable.
Yes.
I recently rewatched Romeo and Juliet, which is still his best movie in my opinion.
Yeah, there's some good stuff in there. I was into the
we
bracket
could
from afar.
We could do an episode where we do a live commentary at Moulin Rouge on Broadway.
Oh, I'd love to do that. Well, a live commentary might be poorly received by
my
our
joke.
seatmates.
Jesus Christ, I'm a broken man. Give me something.
A lot of good stuff.
Yeah, that's true. I never give you anything.
You never give me anything.
I'm into many
You
of
don't
those.
give me an inch.
He told like a 20-minute story about Martin Scorsese.
Good story.
It paid off
like a
it paid
slot
off nicely,
machine.
though.
Very nice.
Paid
Look,
off
the point is
nicely.
you have lots of good
should I
options
put
there,
coins?
and I hope
Yeah,
the
those.
show runs
All right.
forever. I hope you can do all of those.
Sure.
Except
Why
for the
not?
one, except for the ones I said.
feel
Please
like
don't. Oh, you
Griffin
know what?
and
I emailed. Wait, what was the one? Didn't I specifically email McTiernan? That's the one I
Yes.
want. the
Yeah,
most.
that'd be fun.
That-
you want to come through for Medicine Man?
No, Basic.
Oh, cool.
that is such an
That's
Alex
the
pick.
Alex
Whatever the
guy.
bombs are. The only thing I
Yes.
remember about Basic is that it has a quote unquote Rashomon-like structure.
Right.
And
It
then
also has like an insane twist, but it's
Right.
not that insane.
And the
but
trailer
the
has
movie
a
thinks
point.
it's
The trailer
insane.
has a point where John Travolta picks up a chair, turns it around, sits on it backwards like a cool guy, and says, "Let me break it down for you," or something like that. Much like, "Do you want to see the center of the universe?" These like trailer
They
lines.
just like splinters in your
Well, that
mind.
was
Duly
to
appointed
go back
federal
to like
marshals.
when we talked about, of course, when we talked about like our mutual trivia time.
Yeah.
At one
Yeah,
point, I
right.
signed up to do a guest round, which I never did, but my dream was trailer lines,
Right.
which is to say like a line from a trailer that you're like, "Oh, I remember that. Like, if you want my blood, take my blood."
Right.
You're insane. You might also be brilliant. Like these lines that the trailer kind of like is focused around.
Do you know what I was thinking, David?
What?
We should maybe see if we could do videology trivia one night. If they would let us do like a blank check trivia night.
About the show.
I
Not about the show, but about the movies we've covered because there've been so many of them now.
I think they'll let us do that. Like, I think we could shoot higher than that. But yes, let's do it. Why not?
Not that that's-
Don't say that.
I'm not dissing them. I'm just saying, like, but they'll let us do that.
Okay, so we'll play Carnegie Hall. I don't know what you
Well,
want.
I think I was just going to say to Al, I feel like both of us have sort of in the last year kind of shifted from like blank check is a thing we love to do to like, should we put like a lot of eggs in this basket? Is
Well,
this the thing?
We just did our A-series round of funding, and we raised $2 billion for Blank Check Media, so we're trying to figure out how to spend it now.
That's
You
very
know, it's
impre-
like a Brewster's Millions.
Yeah.
We're going to start Movie Pass 2.
Yeah,
Just
Ben has already spent $1 million buying inventory of Blank Check fidget spinners.
I told you,
They're gonna sell
I
well.
emailed you guys when I was visiting. I went to like a guest lecture thing at University of Bloomington, Indiana.
Sure.
And like 3 people in the film department confided to me like an hour and a half into this dinner. They were like, just so you know, like we all love Blank Check. And this was like the week the Hollow Man episode came out. And they're like, we love the Insomnia episode. I was like, well, I got good news for you. There's an episode coming on Sunday. And then I was like, you guys all really love it. And then they were telling everyone else at the table about it. It happens all the time. I'm always places
really,
where
Shut
it really
up.
makes us so
I'm always
happy.
places where people bring up that they enjoy these appearances. And then I said that you guys should go to Bloomington and do like a, because the head of the department, the head of the department was like, "What's this? This sounds very interesting." And I was like, "Yeah, bring him out, have him like screen movies and talk to people." And I think I put that in an email, and you guys were like, "Sure,
let's do a roadshow.
Get on a plane and go to Bloomington and show movies to a bunch of fans."
What if we like make it like a vaudeville act?
Griffin's like, "What if we ruin it though?"
Yeah.
Is there a way it could be like really annoying?
I don't know.
Yeah, I could have horns or something.
Ben's like, "There'll be a wet room."
Yeah, that's funny.
I have a herniated disc. I'm never going to be able to act again. I need to figure something else
That's what I'm saying. The eggs are slowly being put into this basket.
Yeah.
Into Ben's basket.
Yeah, into Ben's basket. Well,
Ben's basket boy.
What a great episode it's been.
Oh, Griffin.
You listen to us unravel.
Episode.
I'm just in pain. It's fine.
All right.
Thank you for having me back.
Oh, please. Thank you for being here. What an honor and a privilege. Go see Christopher Robin for the third time. Christopher Robin fever.
Yeah, Christopher Robin's great. And also,
which is a serious condition I got when I was working on the movie.
A lot of British people get that. Fuck.
Her
smell is going to be in Toronto when this posts.
Right.
We were talking about
as
this.
of the recording, this is not known. As of the release of this episode, it's literally playing like right now.
Right. It's at like the Roy Thompson Hall. We're all there.
Yeah.
I've seen it. I was a very big fan.
Griffin saw a rough cut.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
You're a critic, so
I know,
you have to
I'm
wait.
part of the disgusting press. Yeah.
I'm on the inside.
Wait, I got to tell you a story, but off mic.
Okay,
if this were coming out today, that would be too soon to release, but September, whatever, 9th, 10th?
10th, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be out there.
Gary, for that. Good picture. Good talkie.
Great.
Yeah.
I'm very excited.
Yes, thank you all for listening. Please remember to rate, subscribe. Thanks to Ange for Good for our social media, Joe Bowen and Pat Reynolds for our artwork, Lane Montgomery for our theme song. Go to reddit.blankies.com for some real nerdy shit. And as always,
sure.
You got me straight tripping, boo. Now, David, if you're a blankie, you probably like watching movies.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
But have you ever thought about reading movies?
Reading about movies.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Interesting twist, right? Because you know who our sponsor for today's episode is.
Tell me.
Abrams Books.
Abrams Books, they have a new book called, this book really ties the films together. It's about the Coen brothers. It's written by Adam Naiman, the great Toronto film critic who's a friend and blankie. I'm pretty sure Adam's listening right now.
The dude rules, and this book is cool. It's like a classy,
it's a big
like,
old
coffee table
hunk of book.
But I'll say this: I got it right, and I was showing it off to my downstairs neighbors, and they said like, "Whoa, they sent you that for free. That's probably a really expensive book." And I looked at the price. Do you know what the price is in the back?
I don't know.
$40.
Yeah,
this is like a good value for a book that's going to make you look so smart and sophisticated.
It's also just like not like a hacky coffee table book where it's all pictures. It's Adam's put a lot of work into it. He's got like big sort of theories on every Coen movie.
Go through every one of the movies.
It's
he breaks
very
into
blank
eras.
He's
hits
doing
and
the
misses.
narrative.
Yeah, he is doing the narrative. He's looking at the career as a whole.
Yeah.
And but that aside, pictures of this thing are gorgeous.
Gorgeous pictures.
Sometimes you got a 2-page spread. Sometimes
there's
little
2-page
images
spreads
embedded.
of the opening title cards, which that's really up Davy's alley. Anyway, it's a great book. Friends of the show, and get out there and pick it up.
As we always say on the show, you gotta open the book. And in this case, the book is, it really ties the room together.